What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Friday. TGIF, DK Show up on the air right now on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Video streams up and rolling YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You got your smart devices and Instagram too. Keep forgetting, gotta throw Instagram on there too. But download the app, the Sports Talk app. Take it on the go, wherever you may be listening from. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this Friday morning, ending the work week here before the weekend is set to begin. Fishing opener and such. What do we got on the game plan for us this morning? Deer season's over with. Bucks season in the books, even with Damian Lillard returning to the lineup last night. Bucks could not slow down the Indiana Pacers. Bucks started off first few minutes of the game, not bad, but just after that, it couldn't get going. Indiana finished off the first quarter, outscored them 33-24, and really outscored the Bucks in every single quarter after that too. Bucks just could not slow them down. Dame, played 35 minutes, 28 points. Patrick Beverley actually played 40 minutes in the game, but only 6 points. But, nonetheless, I mean, can look at the numbers and stats. It don't matter because the Bucks don't play again yet this year. Their season now officially in the books. We're going to hear some comments from Damian Lillard and Doc Rivers. Post-game comments from both those guys. But now begins an off-season that is filled with question marks, expectations incredibly high. Do you bring back Middleton? Do you bring back Lopez? I personally feel like that general manager John Horst for the Bucks is under a lot of pressure this offseason to fix this team, to build around Giannis and Dame. Like, what can he do to add around Giannis and Damian Lillard? How much younger do they get? I mean, if there was one thing that really kind of showed out in this series, played out in this series, I think it was the youth of Indiana and them just being able to run up and down the court against the Bucks. Bucks' inability to stop, dribble drive penetration to the hole. Their inability to kind of do it without Giannis. I mean, Giannis is probably the only one who can do it. But man, if there was one thing that really showed the Bucks' age, it was the Indiana Pacers in this series, and really their 5 games in the regular season. So, what can John Horst, Bucks general manager, do? What will he do? A lot of question marks surrounding this offseason because the expectations are still going to be incredibly high for this team. I think, the two that we know are probably pretty safe is Giannis and Dame. So, what can Horst, what can the Bucks do to build around those guys? So we'll hear from, like I mentioned, we'll hear from Dame and Doc Rivers, some comments that they had after the game last night. But what do you think? What should be the game plan for this Bucks offseason? What do you think is the biggest question mark? Doc's coming back. We know that. Dame's going to be back. Giannis is going to be there. So it's not those. What's the biggest question mark, or what do you think is the biggest thing that maybe the Bucks have to address this offseason, or put it a different way too, biggest area of improvement that this Bucks team needs to do? Hit me up with some text, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line video stream. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Comment on over there. So we'll get to some Bucks chat coming up here in just a skosh. Brewers will begin their 3-game series this afternoon against the Chicago Cubbies. Minor Ricky Weeks will be managing this game as Pat Murphy finishing up his suspension. But right now, the Brewers will go into Chicago up one full game over the Cubs for first place in the Central, if that's something you're kind of paying attention to right now. But Brewers coming in 19-11, Cubbies 19-13 at this point. Got Joe Ross is going to make a start for the Brewers today. Myers is going to be making a start on Saturday. Right now, Freddie Peralta listed as the starter on Sunday, going against the Cubbies. So, yes, it is the Brewers going up against their former manager and Craig Counsell. Although I feel like that might be more of a storyline coming up on Memorial Day when the Cubs come to Milwaukee for a 4-game series and Craig Counsell's return to Milwaukee and such. But there's no doubt these are going to be two teams that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to in this NL Central race to see where both these teams kind of finish up because of the Craig Counsell move from the Brewers to the Cubs over there. But we'll take a look at this series and highlight. There's a really good article out there. And I know we talked a little bit about the 200 Club and such yesterday, but there's another theme surrounding surrounding this team, the Average Joes. If you ever watched Dodgeball, the movie Dodgeball, Average Joes, they kind of got that theme going around with this team. So, but we'll talk some Brewers, especially with Brandon Berg coming in past the 7 o'clock hour. Right before he comes in, though, we'll catch up with Dr. Crow for a little inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine inside the training room. So, few things to catch up on with him. One, over the draft weekend. So Peyton Wilson, now he was drafted by the Steelers, but he was a guy that was mocked quite a bit to the Packers. He's a linebacker and such. He's got a cousin with the Brewers and such, but he fell on some draft boards because of his injury history and such. But apparently the dude doesn't even have an ACL on one of his knees. So we're going to hit that up with Dr. Crow and talk a little bit about that. Just past shortly past 7 o'clock, we'll do a little local sports roundup with Brandenburg. Local sports roundup brought to you by Amundsen's Appliance Center. So we'll hit that up probably just shortly after 8 o'clock here this morning. Take a look at that and excuse me. Hopefully the voice will last throughout the morning here, but we'll get to that about 8:05 here. Got a little cream of the crop. Play along with us when we do a little cream of the crop, though, too. Okay, who's your cream of the crop? Send those babies on over. We want you to participate with the program too. Packers got rookie camp starting today. I know that was like they didn't really advertise it, acknowledge it at the beginning of the week and such, but if you've got social media, Facebook and Twitter, you probably saw some of the rookies getting fitted with some shoes and some helmets, and that Jordan Love was there. I saw him, dapping up, high-fiving his new running back, Lloyd from USC in that. But rookies will be getting in some work and obviously kind of probably getting a lay of the land over at 1265 Lombardi Avenue over there in Green Bay. So got a little football stuff going on this weekend with the green and gold. So, but other than that, fairly quiet. I know there's now you're starting to see some, veterans kind of going out there, maybe signing 1-year deals and such. We may take a look at best available veterans and seeing if there is maybe a good match for Green Bay. Greg Rosenthal on Twitter was it I think it was Greg mentioned that Stephon Gilmore might be a perfect fit for the Packers. Stephon Gilmore, yeah, Greg Rosenthal from NFL Network. he mentioned, yeah, Packers make sense as a Stephon Gilmore team. It's out of their team building character, but they have the cap space and need. These 1-year deals for veteran starters are often bargains. So what do you think about Stephon Gilmore coming over to Green Bay and adding him to the corner depth? Jair, Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon. Is that something you'd be game for? Now is the time, with the draft over with and the veterans that are still out there, you're going to see some 1-year deals. You're going to see those veterans signing up for a year. Maybe some of them trying to hitch their wagon to a championship, team. Trying to maybe be that missing element over there. But also, I believe today is now when Jordan Love, doesn't mean it's going to happen today, but today Jordan Love is eligible now to sign an extension, to sign a big deal. Again, I don't know if it'll happen today or if it'll happen, down the road and such. But I believe it was from Matt Schneidman that said yesterday, it was like 12 hours away, which would have been midnight this morning, that Jordan Love will be able to, now officially be able to sign that extension if it's going to come at any point in time. We know it is. We know he's going to sign an extension. I think we're all fairly certain that's going to happen. But it'll be kind of interesting here to see when that happens and what it's going to look like. Also yesterday too, by the way, for the Packers, they declined the 5th-year option for Eric Stokes, which is no big surprise. I mean, now you got these 5th-year options with the first-round picks and such, kind of coming out, teams picking up their 5th-year options. It makes sense that the Packers are declining that 5th-year option. After the first year, after his rookie year, got thrown into the fray because of injuries and such and played well. It's just the guy hasn't been able to stay healthy, hasn't been able to stay on the field. And this is why this is a big year for Eric Stokes. Accountability, availability. He goes out there and balls out. Yeah, he's probably going to get a nice payday for the Packers. So we'll throw a little green and gold chats into this equation as well. So plenty of other stuff to get to here, but let's just get things rolling here. Bucs season, Deer season officially over with. So now what? What is the game plan for the Bucs? What do you want to see this team do? There's 3 things that are, I know never say anything's for certain, but there's 3 things that are pretty darn close to being certain. Giannis will be there. Damian Lillard will be there. Doc Rivers will be there. Okay? So taking those 3 things into the equation, what are the biggest question marks? What do you want to see this Bucs team address in the offseason? What do they have to do to get back to the NBA Finals, to win a championship? It's 2 years in a row now with first-round exits. Giannis has been injured and such. And maybe we'll get to this question that I've been kind of holding on to and kind of stealing it from Jason Wilde and Tausch from a few days ago. But I thought it was an interesting question from a Wisconsin sports fan's mindset. They had asked, we all know Packers fans were very disappointed that the team only won 2 titles during the 30-year Favre-Rodgers run, 1 apiece. Went to 3 total, won 1 apiece. As they said, this was at Game 5, but now it becomes relevant. With the Bucs bowing out, we know there's going to be some offseason changes. Let's say the Bucs, you hate to have this mindset right now, but what happens if the Bucs only win 1 championship with Giannis? Would you be disappointed? Or would you be appreciative? Like, you know what? Bucs got 1. Is it different when it comes to comparing it to Green Bay? And I think if you ask it, a lot of Brewers fans would be like, we just want one right now. But you got an all-time great with Giannis. You got an all-time great. Does that change? Like, okay, we got to take advantage of that. You got to get a couple at least. And their poll question was 54.9% said disappointed. 45.1 said no, you're appreciative. Actually, it's a little bit closer than I thought it would be. So I have to throw that in the equation too. Let's take a quick break though, and we'll get things going. We're going to hear from Damian Lillard. We're going to hear from Doc Rivers and such. We'll get to that coming up on the leadoff after these quick words. We do want to help. Backyard Dreams. We're looking for people, for organizations, for teams to help. So let us know. Just visit sportstalk1051.com. Click on the Backyard Dreams tab over there for more info. And kind of just really looking for some nominations is what we're boiling it down to. So if you know of anything or anybody or a team or organization, kiddo, let us know. Or maybe that's yourself, and that's perfectly fine. Let us know. All right. We want to help. So again, just visit sportstalk1051.com and click on that Backyard Dreams tab over there. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning. Bucks season in the books. Last night, 120-98 loss to the Indiana Pacers in Game 6. Damian Lillard did return to the lineup, led the team in scoring. Practically nothing off the bench. Absolutely nothing off the bench for the Bucks. A total of, what do we got here? Quick math. 6, 9, 10 total points off the bench, for crying out loud. He had two Pacers alone with 20 and 21 points apiece. No bench production whatsoever from the Bucks. Let's begin by hearing from some comments. Let's start off with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard talking about his year. Now remember, he got traded to the Bucks shortly before season began and preseason and such, and then we know coaching changes and all that. So it's and then some personal stuff off the court with his family and such. So it's been kind of a whirlwind year, or as he describes, a roller coaster of a year. Let's hear from Dame after the game from last night.
I think
All right, so with that too, he also kind of reflects on the season, and it kind of talks a little bit about his excitement for next season. Let's hear from Damian Lillard again. So Dame right there kind of already setting the bar for next year, kind of saying with a lot of uncertainty this previous offseason for him, where was he going to play? For the longest time, it felt like it was going to be Miami, but the two teams just couldn't figure everything out. And then, kind of a shocker, right? It doesn't seem like it was that long ago already, but a shocker that Milwaukee comes in and they're the team that acquires Damian Lillard. And remember too, not only does he come over late in the summer, he's got a new team to work with. He's got some chemistry to build. And, Adrian Griffin's the head coach, but remember Terry Stotts was the top assistant, and Terry Stotts we all thought was gonna be an easy transition for a guy like Damian Lillard to come in and are like, "Oh, he's played, practically his whole career under Terry Stotts at with the Trailblazers and had a ton of success." And then right before the regular season begins, Terry Stotts leaves and throws really a big wrench into everything, and he was supposed to be kind of the offensive coordinator for this team, right? So you got that in there. You got a new rookie head coach coming in. You got an all-star player, superstar player coming in. You're going through that, and then they fire Adrian Griffin. They bring in Doc Rivers, who's got a completely different approach, and he's got to try to mix in what he wants to do with what the Bucks are doing, adding a couple assistants while also, some assistants he had on there are left over from Adrian Griffin, and then of course some of the injuries going through there. This is something I didn't realize. Giannis, Dame, and Middleton, those 3 together only played 6 games under Doc Rivers. Think about that. When Doc Rivers was hired and got the job, only Dame, Giannis, and Middleton played 6 games together. That's it. When I saw that number, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." It was only 6 games? Those guys played together under Doc Rivers? So, you listen to Damon, he's kind of challenging himself and he's kind of, throwing it's like I'm not saying guarantee or anything like that, but he's throwing a bar out there saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be better next year. I'll be more comfortable next year. There's gonna be a lot less uncertainty next year and heading into the offseason and such." He's kinda setting the bar already out there. Doc Rivers had this to say about, coaching the Bucks and kind of some, maybe some expectations, for this team going forward. There you that's, from Doc Rivers after the game yesterday. So, you're looking at him and he's gonna have a full offseason. He's probably gonna let's be real, he's probably gonna make some changes on the assistant staff. He brought in a couple guys, but maybe now he wants to fully bring in his entire staff. He's gonna have an off season now with these players, a full off season, a full training camp, try to implement what he wants to do. And honestly, I would if I'm John Horst, if I'm the general manager, I'm looking at this like working with Doc, like, okay, what kind of players do we need to build around with Dame and with Giannis? I got to imagine Doc's going to probably be, factored into some of the roster decision making here too. But you hear him saying, this probably, going to do everything I can to win this, and probably means, looking for myself and what you guys. And Doc Rivers is a guy that's under a lot of criticism. He was under a lot of criticism when he was hired. You go on social media right now. He's a dude that's trending on the X and Twitter because a lot of people say one of the most overrated coaches of all time. I'm sure I don't think Doc Rivers has a burner account on Twitter or anything like that where he's checking that out. Maybe he does, I don't know. But he's a guy too that's probably got something to prove, wants to win a championship in the city that he played college ball at. I think with him, with Dame, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, if you will, maybe, or motivation. But I think there's no doubt about it. You're probably gonna see a team that's gonna be maybe a little bit more comfortable. It just felt like this team was never comfortable in their own skin, their own shoes throughout the whole season, if that kinda makes sense. Even under Adrian Griffin, it just felt like, "Uh, still off." This doesn't feel like there's that chemistry there. Doesn't feel like there's that cohesiveness. And then right before the All-Star break, you make the decision of letting them go and bringing in Doc Rivers, and you're kinda starting over within the season. So, not to try to make excuses for this team because when you got a team that built the way they were built, it's championship or bust. Even with this year, with all the stuff going on and the up and downs and the roller coaster of a year, it's still championship or bust with a team like this. When you've got Giannis and Dame and all that. There's factors that obviously we can point to, like, you know, that's a big reason why, they didn't win, or that's a big reason why they didn't play as well as they could. But there's no doubt about it, heading into this offseason is a crucial offseason, it's gonna be a big offseason, and it's an offseason of a lot of unknowns. I think, mentioned a little bit earlier, the 3 that don't wanna say everything's guaranteed in life, but there's 3 that's probably pretty secure. Giannis will be there, Dame's gonna be there, Doc Rivers is gonna be there. And then after that, you kinda look at the roster and it's like, "Okay, now what? What do we do after this now?" What's Brook Lopez's future gonna be? Chris Middleton. I mean, I still the that 6-game number, those 3, the big 3, if you will, Dame, Giannis, and Middleton, only playing 6 games together under Doc Rivers. That's wild to me. That is wild. Wild. I know it was, he came in halfway through the season, but still, just 6 games is incredibly. I mean, that's just crazy to me. But I got to imagine the Bucks at some point have to look at this like, okay, looking at this series against the Pacers. Pacers a very young team, getting some experience. Pacers are going to be a pesky team, I think. For the next few years. Bucks have to look at this and be like, was that a series like, okay, maybe we need to get some fresher legs in here. Maybe we need to get a little bit younger. You know, maybe we need to play a little bit faster pace. What did that Pacers series tell us about this Bucks team? John Horst, general manager, I think this is a big time offseason for him. A lot of these moves, I mean, this is his roster, right? This is the team he has built. This is the team that he has put together. So it's up to him now to fix the roster, to improve the roster, to put together a team that can get back to a championship. What are those moves that he has to make? And remember, you know, hands are kind of tied a lot in some financial senses. don't have a whole lot of monopoly money to play with, don't have a lot of draft capital to go out there either. So when you look at it, I mean, if you want to look at some, some free agents already, I guess we can kind of look at here. I mean, you're looking up and down the line here, and again, where's the money going to come from these guys? Do you want to get a little bit younger? I think you want to get maybe a little bit younger. I know Dame said, playing with a veteran team and such, but I think you got to get some fresher legs into that equation over there too. Yeah, the money factor is going to be big. I know a lot of people, a lot of fans out there saying, move on from Brook, move on from Middleton and that. The big question is going to be, does the money work? Does money work to be able to move on from guys like that? Do you bring in young guys, or on the flip side, do you bring in more veterans, guys maybe who are motivated to try to win a championship? I don't know, because I look at some of the teams that are still alive in this postseason. It's not necessarily all veterans on there. You know what I mean? I mean, look at OKC. Heck, even yes, Minnesota's got a nice mixture over there too. Anthony Edwards is a dude. Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert's been around for a little bit there. Denver won it last year. This is I don't even know where to begin right now to kind of look at this offseason and look at guys that John Horst and the Bucks should kind of target. Is it another two guard? Or do you bring in, a point guard and Dame plays a little two guard or something like that? Do you go a little bit of a smaller front court? To me, I think the big one out there is probably going to be a change at post at the center. Brook Lopez. Do you move on from him? And if that's the case, who do you bring in at that point? I'm just kind of looking at spot track and some available centers potentially out there. I mean, yeah. And that's the thing too when it comes to the NBA, you got bird rights and all these other stuff that are factored into this, but there's no big time names out there, it looks like. So I don't know, but what would you do? What do you think is the biggest thing that the Bucks have to address this offseason? What do you think is the biggest thing they've got to improve? Is it maybe bringing in a new big man? Do you got to go a little bit younger? Maybe a guy who can kind of is a better defender on the outside. Like we know Brook, he can pop a three, pop a few threes, big man down low. But I think the biggest thing is his defense on the outside. Yeah, he could block shots, right? He's one of those leaders across the league. The biggest question, I think, what surrounds Brook Lopez is his perimeter defense. With the way the game is played now, with your bigs playing on the outside, is he a liability in that point at that point? And if so, what kind of changes can you do to improve that? Who do you bring in? All right, let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Angela from Hy-Vee, our good friend, is back with us in studio. Angela, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm Angela from Hy-Vee, our good friend, is back with us in studio. Angela, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's May now, finally, so summer's around the corner. School's going to be out, but grilling season too. Mother's Day's coming up, so we got a
Yeah,
lot of stuff on the docket here.
we
And it
sure
sounds
do.
like you guys are getting ready for Mother's Day coming up here too.
We are. We've got the big brunch coming up
Yeah.
next Sunday. That's 8 to 1. You gotta come in and try it. The crab claws, the
Oh,
prime rib,
yes.
all the yummy breakfast
You
stuff.
guys always go all out when it comes to your brunches and like whether it was the Easter one and this one coming up here too. And it's a quick way to take mom out for dinner or something. So
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
So looking forward to that. I'll be taking my wife for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Checking it off the box right away. So
Definitely make it by the dessert table. That's
yes,
extraordinary.
absolutely. Now, for anybody maybe looking for some gifts for Mother's Day, I know your floral department. You got that and a bunch of other stuff available too.
Right, we have ready-made bouquets, but, make sure you do call it in,
Yep.
to get exactly what you want for your mom, and we've also got some special deals in the bakery going on. You can make a cookie cake or something with a special message,
Hmm.
or we can go visit Tressa and get this mom's favorite, some champagne.
Nice. Hint, anybody
Hint,
listening,
hint.
right? So we got a bunch of, I mean, gift cards available over there too. So you can go in there, even if it's a sports fan. You got the Steam shop over there too. So
Right,
bunch of stuff you can cover, mom. Absolutely. So, and then we've got breakfast is one of my favorite meals. You know, it's hard for me sometimes during the week, but on the weekends, I love breakfast. And you got a breakfast sale. It sounds like coming up
yep.
too.
Next Tuesday through Thursday, we've got a huge breakfast sale going on. So we've got the Eggland's Best Large Eggs for 99 cents. And then in the Market Grill, we've got a buy one, get one free Good Start breakfast.
Ooh,
It's a ton of food. It's so good. And it's
yeah.
a very good way to start your morning.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had the a couple weeks ago, we were over there for breakfast, and I had the apple pie pancakes.
Oh,
Huge. It
yeah.
was huge over there. So, definitely take advantage of that. Hey, maybe you wanna make breakfast up for mom too or something.
Right.
Absolutely. So, got that. A lot of good
Yeah,
deals over there too.
right. And then also don't forget to pick up a hanging basket,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
10.99.
Heck yeah.
You don't get a better deal than that.
Exactly. I think the weather's finally turned too, so we can keep them outside and
Yeah.
such. So, I saw them hanging out, the other day
Yeah,
when I stopped by. So
there's still plenty of selection.
mhm. Absolutely, and then it's also grilling season too,
Right.
right? Coming up here now that, we're in May. I know Memorial Day is a big one coming up at the end of the month, but people are getting their grills and smokers out, and it sounds like you guys are preparing for that too.
Right, we're doing our pork bundle sale. So this is a pre-book. So you can get a half of bundle or a full bundle. You save so much money on the half bundle. You're saving $67.
Oh, wow.
And my favorite thing, there's a pump perk
Look at that.
attached.
See?
This is where you can get your free gas.
Yep.
So on the half bundle, it's 50 cents a gallon, and on the full bundle, it's a dollar.
Oh, wow.
And this could be your whole grilling. There's, pork chops in there. There's ribs. There's Italian sausage. You name it is in
Mhm.
this bundle. It's a great, great deal and save a ton of money.
Absolutely. Even if, you don't have to use it right away, get a freezer, wrap it up in the freezer too, save it a little bit later on if you have
Exactly.
to. So, maybe even a good idea for graduation parties coming up if you wanna cook out for graduation parties.
Right. So we're taking the pre-orders this whole week,
Mhm.
and then you pick it up on June 2nd.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect timing
Yeah,
right there.
exactly.
Absolutely. Heck, maybe if you're even doing some weddings, June's a big wedding month, right? Maybe
Sure.
you're cooking out for your wedding or something too. So, well, that's awesome. I'm gonna definitely take advantage of that deal, and especially as if Angela says something's good for fuel perks, it means it's good for fuel perks too.
Right.
Angela is the fuel perks queen right there at Hy-Vee. So, well, anything else you want to hit up here quick, Angela, before I let you go?
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to the store.
All
I don't know
right.
how they run without you over there.
I
So,
don't either.
Angela, awesome chat with you again. Appreciate it.
All right. Nice to see you.
Coming up next hour, we're going to do a little inside the training room with Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Catch up with us. And then after that, we're going to catch up with Brandon Berg, sports editor, Chippewa Herald. We'll get to some Bucks chats, or I should say get back to some Bucks chat with Brandon, and then get to some Brewers chat with Brandon as well. Plus the local sports roundup coming up at about 8 o'clock. I know we had a lot of local athletes, signing days the last couple days and such. And, of course, with spring sports continuing to roll on here too. So had some cancellation, or I should say postponements yesterday with some of the weather out there too. So, but we'll get the latest surrounding all that good stuff with Brandon coming up shortly after 8 o'clock. After 8 o'clock. So, but at least back to the hoop scene here. Knicks also winning last night. So Eastern Conference is not quite finished up yet. We'll see if Cleveland can move on and win their series tonight. And then you've got the Clippers and Dallas. They're going to be well, if Dallas wins tonight, they move on. Clippers trying to extend it to 7. Tomorrow, though, we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves back in action. Or tomorrow. Excuse me, getting my schedules mixed up. Only game tomorrow is Minnesota taking on Denver. So that'll be at 6 p.m. tip time. Bucks fans, I think it's okay to root for the Timberwolves. I'm going for the Timberwolves right now. No big rivalry with them, so go T-Wolves. They'll be going up against Denver. Remember, Minnesota, Denver, and the Clippers all regular season long. They were kind of battling out for that top seed in the Western Conference. All three teams in the did I say Clippers? I meant the Thunder. But Minnesota, Denver, and the Thunder all within the same division, all kind of battling out for the top spot in the Western Conference. I feel like this is going to be a really fun series. Anthony Edwards, Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr. had a really good playoff series for Denver. Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. So a lot of Denver connections too with the Tim Conley over there with Minnesota. But I think that's going to be a really, really, really fun series. And, depending on who wins between Dallas and the Clippers, that winner going up against the Thunder, I think could be a pretty darn good series over there too. So, but we'll see tonight if Orlando can extend it to 7. Cleveland wins, they're going to be taking on the Boston and such. I just blanked on my mind because we got Indiana that's going to be taking on New York for that series. So kind of flashbacks to the 90s there a little bit too with the Pacers, Reggie Miller, Rick Smits, Mark Jackson taking on maybe the Knicks there, giving you flashbacks to some 90s hoops back in the day. All right, just a few minutes to the top. Don't forget, you can play along. Send us your cream of the crops. All right, send us your cream of the crops. Brandon and I will get to ours a little bit later on in the program. Also, don't forget to check out sportstalk1051.com and click on the Man Cave tab because we need, we're looking for we want to feature some fans of the month. So send us your photos over there so you can be featured as a fan of the month. Use sports highlights. We're looking for some backyard barbecue tailgating tips over there. You got a good recipe you want to share with the rest of the class, send those on over. And plus, now is the time of year too. All you weekend warriors, maybe you're in some ball tournaments, volleyball, whatever, golf and all that. Send us that so we can feature you as part of our Weekend Warriors feature over there on the Fan Cave. So again, more details, just head to sportstalk1051.com and click on the Fan Cave tab. Got to feature some more of you Weekend Warriors. If you've already been featured, you can't be featured again. All right, so don't try to double it up or that's over there too. Big thanks to all of you who have also sent over some trophy gallery photos for our Tilden Gun trophy gallery board up on the outdoors page with the fishing opener this weekend too. If you have any luck, send us snap that photo, send it to us so we can feature it up on our outdoors page at our website. And plus, with turkey season still going on too, don't forget to snap that photo of your turkey so we can feature it up on the outdoors tab and make everybody else jealous who hasn't gotten a turkey yet. It's over there. So we'll finish up the first hour though. Good morning, Morgan.
How you doing today, Casper?
I'm doing well.
Are you going out for opener? Do you know anybody that's going out getting plans to drop line this weekend for fishing opener?
I don't know of anybody, no.
No?
No.
Have you ever gone out, or is it
Oh,
just?
I've gone out before,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's not the one thing
It's
you
not
do.
like deer.
No, it's not like the
No.
deer opener. Do you know anybody that is though in your life? Do you have like a big angler friend?
No, I don't think so.
You got to get one.
Yeah.
Everybody needs one in their
I've
life.
got a big angler friend, but he's all musky, so that's not really.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
kind of like you have a
He
focus
sleeps on the
specialty.
boat on the water.
No way. You can do that?
He does.
Oh my gosh. I would barf just thinking about it. That's the one thing I can't take is the waves. I'm such a wimp when it comes to I love fishing, but I'm a docker land fisherman because anytime we get in the boat too much, if I'm not on a tube riding behind it, I'm barfing.
It probably helps him. He's got narcolepsy, so he probably just like tunes out.
Oh, we're talking about Jake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what? I'm going to start using that at this point in my life. I would love to be able to drop into that at any given point.
Right.
All right, pick a wild card number today. We have numbers 1 through 25. You're going to answer a question, and then we're going to learn a little bit of rapid fire about our own favorite sports guy, Dan Kasper.
We'll do 5.
We'll do 5. All right. Do you have the last show you binged watched?
The last show I binge watched. The last one I binge watched. I can tell you the one we're binge watching now.
I'll take it.
Supernatural.
Really?
Mhm.
Is it good?
It's funny.
Okay. So
I can't believe there's 15 seasons of that thing.
that's a long haul.
We're on season 8.
What was the last show that you binged watched and liked? Like that you would maybe revisit and go back to?
Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, you're a Peaky Blinders guy.
Mhm.
Well, then the Derby's coming up tomorrow. Are you
I
going to get all
suppose I didn't
suited
even
up?
make that connection.
Yeah, they're
Dang
big
it!
horse
I should
racers in Peaky.
have got some Peaky Blinders hats.
Are you a Derby guy? Because it is.
I want to be because of Peaky Blinders.
See, I grew up watching the Derby because my grandma raced horses, so I would always go down and help clean stalls and do all that. And Derby Day was her day because obviously, if you're in the horse world, that's it.
Right.
And I grew up watching the Derby, so I always have a soft spot for it when it's on.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it tomorrow. It's not so much the mint julep thing, but I like watching the backstories of all the jockeys and the horses and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
they'll be in fastest 2 minutes in sports tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
All right, speaking of rapid, let's go through these. You get to pick one with very little to no thought put into it. We're going to go back or forth.
17.
No numbers.
Oh, okay,
I'm
sorry.
telling you one
Okay.
or the other. I like your enthusiasm, though. Just a random number generator.
Yeah, exactly.
34. All right, salt or pepper?
Pepper.
Cookies or chips?
Chips.
Soda or juice?
Used to be soda, but now juice.
Pop or soda?
Soda.
You always say soda, you never say pop? No.
It's soda.
No, it's pop.
It's soda.
Farm or city?
Farm.
New phone or new clothes?
I need a new phone, but I'll say new clothes.
You're a fashion guy. You always
I'm
have
not.
You are. You always have new clothes and swag.
I don't.
Every time I see, at least once a week, when you walk in the building, I see something on you that I've not seen before. You are a
I have a
fashionista.
variety.
No, I think you're a fashionista.
No.
Yeah. Driver or passenger?
Driver.
Control freak.
Yep.
Laptop or tablet?
Tablet.
Comedy or horror?
Ooh, horror.
Every single time?
Not every single time, but 6
Last good horror movie you saw? Legit good, because it's hard to find a good horror movie.
It's very hard. Like, I haven't been scared yet.
Really?
Yeah, I have
It's
not
actually National Paranormal Day, so the day's not over yet. You saw how foggy it was coming in. I expected Robert Stack to jump out of the ditch. That was Unsolved Mysteries foggy out there.
Perfect.
Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies. First aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. Get a quote at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports aficionados and armchair quarterbacks, welcome to the Dan Kasper Show, where sports passion meets expert analysis. Dan's encyclopedic knowledge and infectious passion for all things sports is both impressive and sad.
I have many leather-bound books.
So get ready to laugh, cheer, and maybe even facepalm a few times.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
It's the Dan Kasper Show.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Friday morning. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to catch up with our good buddy Brandon Berg. We're going to get to some Brewers chat. We will get back to some more Bucks chats as well with their season now officially in the books. Deer season is closed. Also, we'll do some local sports roundup, plus cream of the crop, all that good stuff that you usually get on a Friday morning, which includes Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crow. Let's get at it.
Paging Dr. Crow. Breaking down the latest in sports injuries. It's time for Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crow. On the Dan Kasper Show.
He is Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, joining us here this morning for another edition of Inside the Training Room. And Austin, I want to go back to something I tweeted at you. First of all, good morning, by the way, buddy. Should say that. So
beautiful day.
Beautiful day. I want to go back to something I was tweeting at you with the draft, and you responded to it too. But Peyton Wilson, he was a linebacker, fell in the draft, and he was a popular name to be attached as a possible Packer pick over there. But he had been dealing with some injuries, shoulders and knees and such. And then it was reported that one of his knees doesn't even have an ACL. First of all, how is that? Like, I mean, this is going to sound like a dumb question, and I apologize, but like, so we talk a lot about ACL repairs, but is there a certain point where it's just better for somebody to maybe not have an ACL, where is it so damaged and such where it's like you just can't do anything about it?
I mean, there's always reconstructive options. And like I, responded to your tweet, I mean, there are athletes that have been able to participate without an ACL. So, I mean, the ACL is we talked about it a bunch, but just a super quick anatomy lesson. It's one of the major ligaments in the knee. It predominantly prevents anterior translation and, even more importantly, rotation of the knee. So when people do cutting, jumping, pivoting sports, usually you need an ACL for the knee to be stable. So when you plant your leg and you boost up and jump or twist, forces go through, your upper body down through the leg of your foot, which is planted on the ground. Well, if there's no ACL, generally the knee will shift and rotate in a way it's not supposed to, which for a lot of people is painful and really unstable and can unfortunately cause damage. That's the main reason that we reconstruct ACLs, in order to get people back to be able to run, jump, etc. And so some people are able to, at a certain level, participate without an ACL. Now, why are some able to do it more than others? It has to probably do with strength, control of the leg. There's a lot of things that go into it, but a vast majority of people who have an ACL tear ultimately get it on. Now, he's in the camp where he had, I believe, at least 2 previous reconstructions, and it seems like it tore again. I can tell you there's basically no reason we wouldn't consider going back again. sometimes we have to go back in and fill the old tunnels with bone graft and do what's called a staged reconstruction, where we'll fill the tunnels and kind of hit a reset button to restart the reconstruction, if you will. But it's possible the athlete is saying, I don't want to do it anymore. And that's a personal decision, obviously. And if he's able to run and cut and jump on it, more power to him. Certainly the risk of another injury, so either cartilage or meniscal or another ligament, is higher with that. There's studies have shown that. So it's, I would say, against medical advice, probably. I'm sure some surgeon out there is telling them, hey, you should probably consider reconstructing this again. But someone who's been through it twice, I'm sure they're not licking their chops to do it a third time. So that's probably coming into play as well.
So is it, and again, I apologize, this sounds kind of dumb. Like if you remove the ACL, I don't know if that's the proper way to say it. Is that a quicker recovery time for a person, or is it about the same?
Well, I mean, if you just take it out of there, there's no surgery and there's no reason to hold someone back, per se. So, yeah, that's going to be a really fast recovery. But now you're deficient a leg. It's like a table. If you break a leg, is it faster to just cut the leg off and say, look, now you have a 3-legged table? Yeah, it is. But if you take the time to reconstruct the leg and now you have a 4-legged table, it's more stable. That's the same concept, is that if you just go in there and leave the ACL, and you don't even have to remove it. If it's torn, you just let it be. You don't have to go in and remove it. It just is torn and your body will dissolve it. So there really is no recovery per se from that. But again, the real concern, of course, is going to be what does it look like stability wise? And if he's able to play, because I think I'd read he actually played his last season with that ACL deficient. So, I guess it says that he's able to do it. Probably one of the more well-known cases was Hines Ward. He played his whole NFL career without an ACL in one of his knees.
Yeah.
And so that is the exception, not the rule. Like I tweeted at you. There are people who can do it. I unfortunately see athletes who try to do it or have an injury and don't get it assessed right away, come back a couple months later and have another bigger injury. And you look back and say, well, your first injury was a torn ACL. Now you've done X, Y, or Z as well. So, the data on it's pretty convincing that a vast majority of people should consider reconstruction for the protective reasons and the ability to get back to cutting, pivoting activity.
So didn't John Elway have something like that too, where he didn't have an ACL, or maybe that was a cartilage one? I can't remember off the top of my head over there too, but something.
I'm trying to remember with Elway. Yeah, I do. I think you're right on. I can't remember exactly with Elway. He might have had something going on too. Yeah.
So is it possible So the Hines Ward one kind of makes me shocked because he played wide receiver, and you talk about the pivoting and the jumping and all that, and the guy finished with over 10,000 receiving yards in his career. Is it possible where he's running and all of a sudden just could collapse because there's no stability in that knee if somebody were like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. So people without an ACL, sometimes they'll injure it, they'll come and see us in clinic, we get an MRI. And then there'll be a little bit of a delay till surgery. And sometimes I'll talk to them like, man, my knee's starting to feel better. And it's like, yeah, with daily walking and that stuff, most people can function without an ACL with daily activities. But yes, you try play a receiver in the NFL. It is very surprising he was able to do that. But again, he obviously was. But then when you look at the list of players who did have reconstructions, it's much bigger. But there are people out there who feel like you can rehab and kind of get some of these people through. It would definitely be a gamble, no question about it. If you try to do it and you had another injury and then you damage the cartilage, well, then we're in a Bakhtiari situation, right? Where it's now the knee's in trouble and there's not those are very difficult situations to salvage. So, yeah, it's if you had a crystal ball and you knew that maybe 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100 people could be stable and you'd let those people go, that'd be awesome. The problem is we just don't have the ability to predict that. So that's where you're trying to play a guessing game, really.
Would it, and again, I apologize, this sounds stupid. Does a brace, if a guy played with a brace on his knee, does that help any with the stability at all?
There are ACL braces, absolutely. So we call them, derotational braces or functional derotational braces. So those exist. I would say if they provided all the stability needed, ACL reconstruction surgery wouldn't exist. So, we tried. I've had athletes try play seasons or part of seasons with them on, and I can tell you they don't work perfect. That's for sure. So, do they impart a little additional stability? Probably. And there's different camps on bracing. Now, some injuries like MCLs, for example, that's a side to side, almost like a hinge ligament. Those braces work very well to stabilize. So medial and lateral sided injuries, those work well. But the problem is the ACL and to a lesser extent the PCL are more rotation. So it's like, imagine a brace being able to hold the leg and preventing any kind of rotation. I mean, it's very difficult to get that kind of control of a leg.
Man, interesting. So, switching over to baseball, I know we talked about him last week, but Wade Miley, sure enough, he's got to have that Tommy John surgery. So he's said he's going to go through the surgery. He's going to rehab, 10 to 12 months before kind of deciding whether he's going to continue his career. He's 37. Does that, his age, I hate to say 37's old, but, with
still a baby,
right? Yeah. With that age, with his age and the rehab, with a surgery like that, does age come into play, whether he's going to be able to make a full recovery and be at a major league pitching level, if that kind of makes sense?
Absolutely. I mean, so you are correct. 37 in, physiologic age as a human being is not old. When you're talking about a professional athlete, 37 is old. So I wouldn't be worried about his ability to heal. So I think you can do that surgery, whether it's with a full reconstruction or doing the internal brace technique. Those are both options for that. Either one, yeah. It's the question is when you get him back, are you going to be able to get him back at a level? Because I mean, there's a natural trail off at that age, right? So I mean, not even at that age, before that age. I mean, a lot of guys are peaking in their younger, mid 30s even. I mean, it's not that often you see pitchers making a run at 40. I mean, there's not a lot of Nolan Ryans out there. So I would say he'll probably have to take a long look at, like, is it worth to try to get back, and will he get back? So his odds of success are lower than, let's say, a 22-year-old who's working his way up through the minors, who's just kind of coming into his own. So could it be done? Absolutely. Is it going to be a guarantee? Far from it. So I think that's going to be a decision that they're going to have to look at. And if there's other damage in the elbow, luckily UCL injuries are often relatively isolated, so there's not a lot of additional damage. So that's the good news. So I think they'll have to kind of take a look at the whole picture.
I know it probably doesn't matter anymore, but with the Bucks being out of the postseason, Giannis didn't play a single game. Apparently, he tried yesterday, went through a couple workouts, but Bucks didn't clear him. So, do you think it was a little bit maybe more severe than what we initially were kind of told with that calf strain?
I think severity, yes. Still, the actual type of injury probably still the same. I mean, it's luckily it wasn't actually a true tendon injury. This was still probably a muscle or musculotendinous injury. So, I think at the end of the day, we do see ones that last that long. So it's still not outside the realm of like, oh yeah, that's crazy that he'd miss that much time. I mean, people with a really bad fill in the blank, hamstring, groin, calf, hip flexor. I mean, you can injure those muscles really severely, and they can take, 6 to 8 weeks till people can go. The problem is you try pushing, go back too soon, and it often adds a little bit of fuel back to the fire. So they're trying to get better. They think they can try go. They try go. Bam, it aggravates it, and it's a step backwards. So, I mean, I'm sure he wanted to be out there. We all know he's a competitor. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just get out in the court and you try it, and you just don't have it, right? It just isn't there, or it hurts. And then again, you just don't want to take a big step backwards. So obviously I'm sure he wanted to try to get to the next round and then be healthy and make a real push, but it's just, unfortunately, injuries are part of the game. And the good news is long-term prognosis for this one is good. The bad news is it obviously was just bad timing for this season.
And then Damian Lillard did return to the lineup, but it wasn't, he was like a week ago, he was in a walking boot. They said he had another Achilles or re-aggravated that Achilles injury. Just how risky do you think it was for him to go out there and almost play 40 minutes when just a week ago he was in a walking boot dealing with an Achilles injury?
Yeah, I mean, that can be variable too. So I think when they put the boot on, they're just trying to get absolute, maximum healing. So they'll which is basically immobilizing. That's what you're doing. So you put the boot on, you kind of take the Achilles, so you walk without your Achilles. So you're not stressing it at all. And same thing. I think they're probably going through the exact same protocol that Giannis did, that you just want to see how it responds. And clearly his wasn't as severe, and he was able to get back out there and play. But hopefully, again, that bounces back and fully recovers. So it really has to do with kind of the severity of the injury itself. And a lot of times you can get a bit of a guess on MRI. The challenge is, truthfully, most orthopedic surgeons we don't get a lot of these MRIs to assess. I mean, people come in and pull their hamstring. We see these in clinic. We don't send them for an MRI. I mean, pro athletes get that. I mean, these guys get MRIs if they sneeze too hard, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I mean, they get MRIs of everything. So it really probably gives a lot of insight, but it's not only how bad it is, it's just how the body heals and responds. Or if they've had, repeat injuries, and so there's maybe a little bit extra scar tissue in that area that takes longer to bounce back. So it's just, there's so much variability. It's hard to predict. It really is. And so, in a lot of times when you're dealing with these teams, the coaching staff will come to you and say, look, when do we think we're going to get this athlete back? And it is a guessing game. So you try to do your best to give an accurate prediction, but at the end of the day, there's the severity of the injury, and really how the athlete's bodies respond. And those are two variables you can't always predict.
Last question for you, going to the Timberwolves. It's not a player, but it's a coach, Chris Finch, with that collision on the sidelines, actually ruptured his patellar tendon. So he had surgery the other day and such. But, I mean, that sounds painful to rupture your patellar tendon in your knee.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's one of those, I'm sure it hurt for a split second, but it's kind of like your Achilles. It pops, and then people are like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt that bad." No, the problem is you'll never walk in if you don't get it repaired. So that's a must surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm sure the impact. It was, I've watched that video a couple times. It's a weird way for him to do that. Usually, it's when people fall and the knee buckles underneath them. His was almost more of like a direct impact. It was a weird way to do it. But either way, he'll be on crutches. The question is, and I don't know if they really announced if he may miss a game or two. Or maybe he'll be kind of working remotely, but he'll certainly have a leg brace on and crutches for a while. But it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back from that. I mean, it's going to be an exciting series. I was able to make it to game 2. I took my daughter to that game. It was an awesome atmosphere, and they're playing really well. Ant is just such a fun player to watch right now. And I mean, it's going to be, Denver's going to be tough, but I think if we can somehow make it through here, the T-Wolves could surprise some people.
Anthony Edwards, coming out party for him in this playoffs, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, yeah, he's been such an exciting player to watch. I mean, he is so explosive. Every player has their different talents. I mean, Giannis is so long and can extend plays, but what Ant can do is just how explosive. I mean, he goes from feet on the ground to 10 feet in the air in a split second. I mean, it is unreal what he can do. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Special player, no doubt about it. We're rooting for you. Now that our Bucks are out, we're rooting for you. So
deal.
All right. Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Dude, always appreciate it every Friday morning with you. Enjoy the weekend, and let's catch up again soon, okay?
Absolutely. Take care.
You got it. Dr. Austin Crow again. Awesome stuff here. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Really quick break, and we'll get to Brandon Berg, who plays a doctor once in a while. I've heard. Sources tell me. We'll explain. approaching the bottom of the hour here. We've got Mr. Brandon Berg now in studio with us. How goes it, sir?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad.
Not too bad. All right. Well, we're going to catch up on some local stuff, local sports rundown coming up a little bit and such. Brandon, Bucks season. We'll get to some Brewers here in a skosh, but just to kind of wrap it up here on the Bucks stuff out there. You know, we heard from Dame last night. We heard from Doc. Big offseason, right? I mean, I don't want to try to over dramatize it by any means, but I think we all know it's an important offseason. If there's three certainties, I did see this on social media where, you know, if Darvin Ham gets fired, he's the leading odds on to be the next Bucks coach. I'm like, Doc isn't going anywhere for this. Whether you like it or not, I can't. I don't want to say anything's 100% certain, but I'm fairly close to that certain. Giannis is back and Dame's back. Those are probably the only three things that I would say that I'm certain about for this Bucks team for next year. It was a weird season though, wasn't it? I mean, you got the Dame trade right before the season. Then Terry Stotts quits like a couple days, a week before the season began. Adrian Griffin's a first-time head coach. He gets fired. You bring in Doc. Injuries. This stat to me was mind-boggling. Middleton, Dame, and Giannis played only 6 games together under Doc Rivers this year.
Yeah, I think 8 total.
Yeah. It was like, beg pardon? You know,
Right.
That to me was like, holy, okay. So
Yeah, I don't know, this season it just felt like once it got going, it never clicked.
yeah.
Like for everybody. Like it just you never kind of got that feeling of, oh, okay, I can, you can kind of see it coming together.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I mean, you just look at now that, obviously we can kind of, with the benefit of hindsight, look back a little bit. Like this team just didn't kind of have that chemistry, that connection. You mentioned the trade being late, like the coaching change midseason, all the injuries, it just never clicked. I think the way a lot of people assumed it would. Like they figured, once you bring in Dame Lillard, that's kind of the move to get you back over the top. But there's a lot more to it than just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he talked a little bit about and off the court stuff too. He apparently was going through, I think it was like a divorce and some family stuff, and and he had mentioned, he didn't really work out a whole. I mean, he worked out, but didn't do a whole lot because he didn't want to get hurt because he was going to get traded. He knew he was going to get traded. I'm sure that was playing his mind. Like we all assumed it was going to be Miami at some point, and then all of a sudden, holy moly, the Bucks, swoop in and get him, which I think surprised probably him at that point in time too. And not to make excuses, because I think anytime you make moves like that, it's championship or bust, right? You do that. But I think we could point to maybe some different like, oh yeah, that was probably a big reason why they didn't win. That was a reason and you're right. Like it just never felt like everything was gelling.
Right. It just always kind of felt like this, this team is always trying to move in 2 different directions.
Yeah.
Like even, in the playoffs, like from the moment he was hired, I'm not a Doc Rivers guy, but I can't really put anything on what happened in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, to me, you mentioned kind of stats that blew your mind. The thing that blew my mind was the fact that Tuesday when the Bucks won, they were the first team in NBA history to win a game when the team's top 2 players were out.
Yeah.
Like
I saw that too, and I'm like, you're telling me that's the first time ever?
Like that kind of tells you what they were up against. And I think a lot of us, myself included, going back a few weeks when we were making our picks, I figured Giannis would be back at some point. And obviously that injury is more severe than we thought.
Yep.
And then you factor in that you didn't have Lillard for a couple of those games. I mean, to me, the one that's really going to kind of maybe linger is Game 3.
Yeah.
That game
that
where
overtime one.
Chris Middleton hits the big 3 to go into overtime. You feel like if you could steal that, they could have found a way to get the Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Giannis plays, but I mean, either way, like the bottom line is, you watch these 2 teams play, and it was obvious which team was the more cohesive unit, and that was Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their bench just took it to the Bucks bench. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to, warm up the leftovers of Gallinari, and that just wasn't working. Like
right. Well, and I tell you something. When Jay Crowder last 2 games plays,
great
0 minutes,
right. And as we go into the offseason, you mentioned you kind of the 3 the certainties. I'm just like, this is. To me, last night just felt like it was the end of an era, kind of for this Bucks group, for the Giannis, Middleton, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis group, Pat Connaughton group. Those guys that have all been there since the championship year. Like, you can't run it back as is when you're already one of the, if not the oldest team in the league, and hope it's going to be better.
Is a good example of that maybe the Warriors?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand when you've been successful with it before, trying to do it again, but at some point you reach that point where you say, okay, we just can't do this again. Like, I think this year you've really seen kind of a bit of the changing of the guard. When you look at the teams that are out already,
they're older teams, right?
They are the Lakers, the Warriors, the Bucks.
Yeah,
these are all
Clippers. It may be.
Yeah, Clippers maybe like, and who are the teams that are still around? The Pacers, the T-Wolves. Like, these are younger, explosive teams, and I think
Sixers knocking out
the Sixers are out. The Heat are out. I mean, granted, that was Jimmy Butler. That makes a big difference, but still, I mean, that's still a team with plenty of potent players. But I just think that's going to be a big part of this offseason is you have to get younger. You have to get more explosive.
Yeah.
Like Giannis and Dame can certainly play within that structure.
Right.
But you can't come back with,
to me, it's like the Brook one is the example when you keep saying, younger and that. Like,
right.
Like Brook is still, he can shoot a couple threes.
He can be physical around the basket and stuff, but
shot blocker, but
just,
defending on the perimeter.
I think it's tough when you have both him and Giannis.
Yeah.
Where I think at this point, ideally, you're playing Giannis at the 5.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And because he can do it. He's strong enough. He's physical enough, but yet you can still get out and run. Where if he's the biggest guy you have on the court, but he's still, the Greek freak, like that may be the way you have to take this.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is there a scenario now where you look at this where Giannis is at that 5, but and before anybody says, well, he's not, I feel like the NBA is kind of positionless now.
Positionless.
I look at Jokic and I'm like, that's not the center I grew up. We grew up watching.
This isn't Patrick Ewing anchoring down, getting getting the ball on the block and going up for a shot.
Right.
Like, that's just, and Giannis can't do that, obviously. So, but it's just different. And that's not to say you bring in a veteran guy off the bench that can't be a little bit of that you use as like a changeup.
Right.
But it's just so tough when you're trying to do that when Giannis by himself is more than capable of being a really strong rim protector. But rim protection isn't as valuable as it used to be. Like, you can have it, but you don't necessarily, you're not fortifying yourself. Obviously, you see with somebody like Rudy Gobert, the importance of that still.
Right.
But the T-Wolves still have other guys that are, obviously super athletic and play away. You can kind of have one guy maybe that's that way.
Yep.
But with two, that's just a tougher proposition.
Right. It just felt like a bad match. I think everybody agreed heading into the series. It felt like a bad matchup for the Bucks in a lot of ways.
You almost, like, obviously hindsight is 2020, but like, it almost felt like maybe the Bucks, you wish the Bucks would have fell to 4.
Yeah.
But even still, I think regardless of who they played in that first round without Giannis, if it works out the same way where Dame, you miss a few games of Dame, like, this was something like, in a way, this was kind of like last year. The only difference is last year when Giannis was out, you didn't have Dame to win a game like he did in Game 1.
Right.
Dame did more offensively in that Game 1 than Drew Holiday ever did, and obviously Drew came defensively. That was was his impact, and then he had some offensive games. But I just I don't this year, last year, I feel like the result would be kind of the same given how things worked out in this series.
Is Middleton back next year, do you think?
I think so. To me, like, because you're still making moves not only to try to be the best you can, but also to make Giannis happy. That's one where I feel like that's kind of the one to me where it's like, man, if you're making that move, you better have something really, really good, because obviously Giannis and Middleton are close.
Yep.
Like, and you saw in the series, like, Middleton still got it. It's just that you kind of need to limit it more. He's not going to be a guy that plays 82 games.
Right.
But of all the things that went wrong in the series and all the things you can be disappointed with, I'm not sure you can really be that disappointed with how Chris Middleton played, because the effort was darn sure there, and he had his big moments.
Yep.
Just not enough people did along with him.
Right. I mean, that 42 in that Game 3, was.
That was kind of a Chris Middleton moment to remind people, hey, I can still play.
Yeah.
Like,
is Lopez back?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think I think the two guys that you kind of have to move on from as much as hurt, because again, big parts of how successful this team has been is Brooke Lopez and Bobby Portis.
Ooh, you gonna throw Bobby in there too?
Yes, to me, he's just been so hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
And he had some really good games there, in the postseason. Obviously, Game 5, big reason they stick around. But you have to make moves that you have to do something, and there's only certain things there's certain things you can't do. So then that kind of puts everyone else in that spot.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because obviously he has embraced Milwaukee. Milwaukee's embraced
but you hate to see the fan favorites go when you talk
right.
about
But there's just certain things you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Pat,
probably, that's again he's in the middle of this too.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do something. Like you can't just you can't run it back and say, well, it'll be fine next year. People will be healthy.
Could you see a scenario where it's like a complete overhaul with this? I mean,
in some ways, yes.
I think one thing they got to just completely get better at is the depth on the bench. You know, Doc's got to. Maybe that's why Doc didn't use a bench a whole lot. But I mean, started to use Andre Jackson a little bit more. Is he part of that equation? I don't know.
AJ Green, whatever. Like you've got, they've got as of right now. I mean, they've got a first-round draft pick they can use.
Holy moly! It's not a lot of draft capital.
No, it's not a lot. But you're right. You mentioned it earlier with Jay Crowder. Like that, it feels like that was kind of the search since the title of trying to find that next PJ Tucker.
Kind of maybe makes Mike Budenholzer's decisions more. Last year Jay Crowder didn't play in the postseason. Now Doc's not playing him.
Right. If it happens with a couple different coaches, okay, and then suddenly it's less of what's wrong with the coaches and why isn't this working with the player? And that's we've seen that with some veterans where they've come in, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say was he cooked or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
And you never know, but it's just for whatever reason that combination just hasn't worked as much as a lot of people, including myself, thought it would. I mean, that was kind of the their white whale was trying to find that veteran tough three that could be a good defender, but still hit some threes. That was what they got at PJ Tucker in with the title team, and it was well, let's try to find it with somebody else, and they just haven't been able to find it with somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I kind of dabbled and looked at free agents, but then you got the bird rights. I mean, the NBA is confusing when it comes to contracts and and all that stuff too.
I think it's going to have to come in trades.
Yeah, because you got to shell off some of that money. I mean, you can't just straight up release a lot of these guys.
No.
But and that's where you kind of look at, okay, if you're going to trade like a Brooke Lopez and such, you got to look at that a team that's maybe not, would you say win now mode, or maybe it's one of those teams that's trying to build and you can get those younger assets off them. We've seen that before. Then they'll release Brooke Lopez and all that sort of stuff. But to me, a day after it, I can't come up with that target. You know what I mean? That player target.
It's too soon. I mean, that's what's going to the next few months are going to be for. Which, I mean, the thing is though, we're
draft is next month, isn't it?
Yeah, the draft is next month. Free agency's right after that. So it's not that far away. And I'm sure they're already thinking about it. And
this is big for John Horst, I think, because this is his team that he built.
Right.
This is the offseason, and this is the coach now that he's brought in and, fired, hired. To me, this is a huge offseason for John Horst.
Right.
To figure this out.
Right. And I mean, in hindsight, you're kind of thankful that Giannis, extended at the start of last year because where would they be if he didn't this year?
Well, and that's the thing, though, too, is I would hope he realizes, hey, I wasn't out there, so that's a big loss.
I can't necessarily pin that. And I feel like he would have that approach just from what we know about him. But yeah, it's massive. I mean, there's a few teams that are kind of in, massive, massive offseason mode. Philly's the same way. I mean, I think Joel Embiid's the only guy that they have that's really under contract next year. So there's gonna be a lot of moving and shaking there. I know I had seen some people connecting some big names to Philly just because they have the money and obviously they have the opportunity.
Yeah. In hindsight, 2020, Dante DiVincenzo would still look pretty good in a Bucks uniform.
He would, but he also got paid.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable paying him what New York was able to
pay
him?
It's just.
So, and that's a part of the equation.
It is. Yep. I mean, let's face it. I mean, NBA contracts too are dudes get paid.
Yeah.
PAID paid.
in a ways, it's a bit like baseball, where it's kind of like you almost have a window a certain about some of these guys until like, okay, now they're going to get paid what they're worth.
Yep.
And if you're kind of leaning at the top with, a couple big time contracts, they can only fit so much. And, I've seen some people kind of bring up the idea of like, is the big three era dead?
I was wondering about
When
that.
you think, because there was that period, I mean, that was with the Bucks. I mean, it was Giannis, Middleton, Holiday.
Yep.
That was kind of their quote unquote big three. And every team was looking for that quote unquote big three. But now you look at the teams that are successful, start with the Nuggets, like obviously they have Jokic, but they don't necessarily have like three big names. They have like Jokic and some other really good players that fit in well.
Right. Porter had a really good series against the Lakers. Murray had those couple big, big time shots.
Would you put them in that,
no.
They're very good players, but you wouldn't put them in like that
superstar,
right?
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, when you're thinking, look at the
Thunder is another example.
Right.
You got Alexander and a bunch of young talent over there.
But then you look at the ones that have failed. You look at the Clippers.
Yeah.
They kind of went there. The Suns.
Yep.
The Suns are, I mean, they're kind of the big example of that, burning out with what they've done.
Look at the Knicks right now, Jalen Brunson, and then
that's tried it.
Yep.
Philly tried it. Like, there's so many teams that
it's actually getting back to team basketball.
It is. It is.
Think about that.
It is.
That's where I like. Honestly, I like that. It sucks because my team, the Bucks, aren't kind of like built like that right now. But I was actually kind of wondering that the other day. Like, you look at the Nuggets, yes, you still need a superstar.
Yeah, you still have to, and you still have to have that top tier like MVP caliber guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have two or three of them.
Right. Bucks will have two next year. Dame and Giannis.
Right.
But I mean,
Middleton was at that spot at one point, but now, with injuries and stuff, he can still be very good, obviously, but, maybe not quite at the level.
Right.
It's all,
team basketball's back.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think, yeah. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about that. I'm looking at these teams. I'm like, then I didn't know if like, oh no, Murray's a superstar. Like, I don't know if I'd say Jamal Murray's a superstar.
Right. Who's surviving? Who's thriving? Look at the Knicks.
So like the Celtics, yes, Jason Tatum. And yes, but I don't know if Brown's an all-star, but is he and he got paid. Drew Holiday's there. Porzingis isn't Porzingis. He's really good within that role, but he wasn't.
But the thing that makes the Celtics so good is their depth.
Yeah.
They go deep and they are really good at it. They have assembled a team.
Yeah. Like if they don't win it this year, that it's almost like the Dodgers in a sense.
Yeah,
to me.
it's like, well, if you didn't win it.
Mm-hmm. And I know Porzingis is hurt now too, which could affect it. But no, and I mean, even heck, look at Orlando too. I mean, finally it's clicking. A lot of young talent. Banchero's over there too, but they've got a collection of young talent.
And you look at like the Timberwolves, obviously Anthony Edwards, superstar. Like,
but Karl Anthony Towns isn't.
He's a very good player, but I wouldn't put him in that
superstar.
Yeah, and Gobert is very good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's an awesome defender. He can score, but it's not like he's a 30-point guy.
Right.
So, yeah, I think you just. You kind of have to be ahead of the curve with that now, and
I agree. I agree. I mean, Lakers, yeah. To me, it's like you look at those veteran teams with those big names on there, and you just scratch your head like, wow, how did they know? Maybe it's because of team basketball. Depth is back. Bench players are back. 6th Man of the Year awards matter again.
Yeah.
So
good on you, Nasreed.
Yeah. I'd be all for that. I'm all for that. That was one reason why NBA kind of fell for me is because it's like you had these superstar teams, and then I have in my mind the Heat teams when they had LeBron and Bosh and Dwayne Wade, and then it's like, okay, veterans minimum for Jason Williams, veterans minimum for these guys, Mike Miller, and heck, even my Magic did this when I was a kid when they brought in T-Mac and Grant Hill. What did they do? Veterans minimum for Patrick Ewing and Sean Kemp and that stuff.
We remember like Gary Payton and Karl Malone going to the Lakers at the end of their career trying to get a ring. Like that was.
And what team beat them?
Pistons.
A collection, a team. Right. So I think that'll be good for basketball.
I think so.
Bucks have a little bit to work.
They got a lot of work to do.
To get to that level.
Right. They got a lot of work to do. As I said, this is a massive offseason.
It is very big. So, all right, let's take a quick break here, and we'll be back. Let's talk some Brewers. Don't think anybody else got thrown out today yet. I don't think anybody got thrown out yesterday.
They're off yesterday, so
you never know, though.
The streak is over.
You never know with that umpiring crew there. If they stayed around, you don't know. We're going to be taking the Mobile Man Cave out here soon in the coming weeks here. Taking her in to get some sponsor logos up there. Big thanks to all the sponsors signed up. Anybody else wants to be interested in tagging along with us on our road trips, got to hit me up. I'll get you some info so we can get your logo on right away there. But we're looking for some spots to kind of visit and such. I'm going to try to do some makeover in there and try to make it really look like a man cave. Brandon, I'm trying to find a stuffed animal, so we have a mascot to put in there. Because you probably are going to be the one that's going to be joining me the most on our journeys with this thing, especially the draft next year and such. So we need I like Bob's idea. It might be a little big, but he's like, God, you need a wolf. Like that be cool, but it'd be also really big in there too. So I gotta figure out how some decor to put in there too. So that's my project.
Is it possible to get the inside wood paneled?
I was told it can't be anything permanent. So
yeah,
I was told. So.
Horse feathers.
All right, Brewers Cubs, 3 straight day games down in Chicago here. First game will be without Pat Murphy as manager. Let's rewind it here a little bit. How ridiculous was that umpiring crew? They've already made my Festivus list, Brandon. I mean,
that's actually a really good point. Yeah.
I mean, okay, Pat Murphy won. I'm sure he probably said some things. I
mean, based on the John Boy video, there was some inflammatory verbiage, but I think it went both ways.
Yeah, exactly. The one that I just like, how the heck, 5 games, okay, Freddie Peralta, it's the thing, well, he'll probably miss a start there. To me, the reason why he got suspended to begin with, to me, is just mind-boggling.
Right.
With the whole, first of all, he shouldn't have even got thrown out, in my opinion.
Yes, that surprised me because he hits a batter.
Mm-hmm. Siri.
without any sort of warning
Mm-hmm.
in a game that they're up 6-1, in a game that he's not trying to throw at somebody because they're up 6-1, and he's trying to pitch deep into a game because the bullpen's taxed.
I think he was at 66 pitches at that point
Right
or something.
in the sixth
so,
inning. I mean, he was set to go at least 7 innings, and what was very much needed for that bullpen.
Yeah.
Like that's not a time you do it. And let's put it this way: if it comes out well after the fact that they were throwing at him, then it was dumb on their part. But I don't think that's the case.
Right. Yeah. It was just
and they didn't
mind-boggling.
And he didn't
to
even
me.
throw him out right away.
Right.
They got together.
He had to
they
go
talked.
to the crew.
So it's like you threw him out, and you yourself at home plate didn't even think of it right away.
Right. Yeah. I could not believe that. Could not believe that.
I think that escalated what happened a few innings later.
Mm-hmm. With the Uribe
look, Uribe should be spent. Like that was dumb. You don't come out throwing hands like that. You're not talking in that spot. Like
mm-hmm.
As we've seen quickly with Abner Uribe, his motor runs hot.
Yep.
Like, and he's a young guy, but you can't do that. Like that's he deserves he deserves the punishment he got.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe part of that situation that later developed was because of what happened earlier in the game with the officiating.
I would agree. So, I don't know. I know Freddie's appealing, and because they're hoping that he can start on Sunday. And if that gets upheld, and again, I know it's the 5 games, but he shouldn't even be suspended for one for crying out loud.
I was a little taken back that the player in this that got the fewest games was Jose Siri.
Yeah, and then it got lowered. He appealed it already, and he got lowered down to 2.
Because to me, he's the common denominator in all this.
Exactly.
And again, I don't. If someone pimps a home run, I don't care. Like that whatever. I mean, we've seen people on your favorite team, including the Brewers, have done it before, and they'll do it again. Like that doesn't bother me. My feeling has always been, if you don't want someone to do it, don't give it up.
Exactly. Yep.
But that was kind of the common thread with all of it. And I get that it's a little different when you're trying to weigh a position player suspension versus a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the Freddie Peralta one. Like what they're going to move his start back a day. Like that's what this is going to mean for him being suspended for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you appeal it, even if it doesn't, nothing changes. And if he's still able to start Sunday, it's a very good chance that with 2 straight weeks of games on deck now, that maybe they'd go with the 6-man rotation anyway, and that would have happened anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe nothing ultimately changes for Freddie Peralta.
Right.
But it shouldn't be in that spot.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. The only thing is, don't pip it if you're up like 15-1.
Right. In his case, they were down.
Right. But you're right. Yeah, that doesn't bother me unless I was, Giancarlo Stanton and I hit a home run off of a position player.
Funny story, being at that game, because the pitch before he swung and missed, and just talking with friend of the show Richie and others, I just started laughing. I go, well, that's not going to happen again. Sure enough, next pitch, bang. It's like, well,
yeah. So Pat Murphy won't be managing this game for Game 1 against former friend Ricky Weeks, but Ricky Weeks going up against his former double play partner.
Yeah, that's a former 6-4 combo right there.
Yep. So. Top 2 teams in the division right now, Brewers, Cubs. Brewers holding on to a 1-game lead. I feel like this isn't getting a ton of attention. I feel like that's going to come at the end of the month when Council returns to Milwaukee.
That first game in Milwaukee, I think, is getting more hype, but still, I mean, remember, there's not as many of these now with the balanced scheduling, and these are 2 really good teams.
Yeah,
like it's important.
I wanted to bring up a couple players here, but Colin Ray, just because the other day, last year we didn't know who he was. He comes in, injuries. We see his season kind of, he was part of, started a lot of games, also came out of the bullpen. This year, still kind of an unknown what to expect. 3-0. They're 5-1 in the 6 games he has started. Surpassing your expectations in the early goings for Colin Ray right now?
Yeah. I mean, he's eating innings. Mm-hmm. He's eating innings and providing, more often than not quality innings when he does. And that's all you can hope for. Him being able to go 6 innings on Wednesday was huge.
Yeah.
Leading into that off day, where you're able to, a lot of those guys, get your bullpen in a better spot. Like that was absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And, he went out and he did it. Like that's on a team where the rotation is just looking for all the things they can find.
Yeah.
Him being able to do that is huge.
Yeah. And then, obviously Willie Adames having those 2 home runs in that game too was huge. But, when you look at his team, I know, there's the articles out, the 200 Club with Pat Murphy, the Average Joes, surrounding with Pat Murphy and such. I mean, obviously, David Stearns and Craig Counsell leaving, they were holding the Brewers back, for crying out loud, apparently right now. So, tongue in cheek, people, chill out. But again, we've said this how many times? You see the fieriness of this team. Is this a direct relation? They're just playing off the personality of their manager.
Right. I think you're right. And then I think that, for longtime Brewers fans, it's a bit Phil Garner-esque.
Ooh, yeah.
Whole scrap iron. Like
Yep.
he was, and Ned Yost would also, he'd get after a little bit. But yeah, I think you're just seeing these players as, kind of take after their manager, and then also just, obviously just having some situations where they're reacting. That's part of it too. So, but yeah, within this first month, I mean, you like to see that. I mean, I don't know if people necessarily knew kind of how just opposing demeanors, Counsell and Murphy were. Just mostly because I think people knew who Pat Murphy was, but you didn't necessarily know him, just because he was the bench coach. And that's kind of more in line even too with like Ricky Weeks. I mean, people remember. I mean, Ricky Weeks was a very intense player when he played as well. So that's just it's just different. It's not better, it's not worse. It's just different. And when you're not used to seeing different, different can really catch your eye.
Right. Pat Murphy, though, does look like a guy I don't want to get into an argument with.
Right. He strikes me as someone with some serious old man strength.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just that natural gaze upon him. It's like, I don't know if I want to get into a discussion with him.
Right.
Over there, too. So, but no, I can't complain. I mean, there's not a whole lot. I mean, we can, pinpoint different things, but given the injuries that this team has gone through with pitchers and even throwing Yelich and the young makeup of this team, I mean, does that give you more credit for Pat Murphy, the job he's done, more credit for Matt Arnold for the job? I mean, that William Contreras trade just looks even more amazing at this point.
Right.
I mean, when you factor all that in, how much more impressive is it what the Brewers are doing when you factor in all that stuff?
Yeah, it's got to be even more so. I mean, you're without Christian Yelich. You never had a shot so far this year with Garrett Mitchell.
Yeah.
No, obviously Wade Miley outside of a little bit. No Devin Williams.
Yeah.
And here they are, starting today at the top of the division. Like with after a really good first month of the year. I mean, how can you not be pleased?
Hudson and Wilson, those pitchers too. I mean, again, probably casual fans besides you didn't know too much about them. Probably didn't know about them. And
I said Bryce Wilson is another one. I mean,
yeah,
he was
Wilson.
He's not very old, but he was he made some big starts as a youngster when he was with the Braves and with the Pirates, and it just didn't work out. He goes to Milwaukee, kind of works in the pitch mix a little bit, and he had a really good under the radar year last year. Now he's kind of a starter just out of need,
right?
And he made one mistake against the Yankees, and again in his most recent start, he was really good.
Yep. All right, shot clock's going to cut us off here. We'll get back to some more Brewers talk coming up here in a little bit. We got the local sports roundup coming up after the top of the hour. And then we'll finally, I know I've been saying it a couple times here, we'll finally put a bow on maybe some draft because I want to get Brandon's thoughts on his picks over there. Did he like all the movements from his team? They don't have any picks for next year, though. All right, third and final hour on this Friday morning, just flying on through. It feels like here this morning. What do the kids say? You're having time flies when you're having fun. Is that what they say?
Is that what only the kids say?
I think so. So, we'll get back to some more Bucks chat, Brewers chat. Join in on the convo with that quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hop on the video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Join in on the convo over there too. Let's begin this hour. Plus, cream of the crop. We haven't done cream of the crop.
We haven't done it in a while.
So I blame you because usually you are the one that reminds me on this, and you have failed. You are not.
Boy, you keep talking like that. You're not going to be my cream of the crop this week.
Would I be?
You haven't been for the last month either.
I did get one pick right in the Packer. I'll say I got. Never mind. We'll get cream of the crop here coming up here in just a sec. Let's do local sports roundup. Amundsen's Appliance, brought to you by Amundsen's Appliance Center. So first of all, I'm not doing this to not give extra attention, but there was a lot of kids who signed.
There were many this week.
Many, and I don't want to miss out on anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So just
Chippewa, Eau Claire Memorial, I saw. I mean, a lot.
Yeah. So congrats to all of the local
Yeah.
athletes for signing your letters of intent to play at the next level.
Keep it going at the next level, yeah.
Yes. So there was a lot of them on. So I know you covered Justice was covering a lot of it.
Yep.
So congrats to all of you out there. So, you want to lead off with a little baseball though?
Sure.
Well, how's BRC Clover Belts kind of playing out right now?
Well, the Big Rivers right now. Yesterday for a lot of teams didn't get stuff in because of the weather. Western part of the state, they were able to, though. Right now, Hudson's a half game up in Eau Claire North. That's because Eau Claire North didn't play yesterday. So, Eau Claire North plays Chippewa tonight, actually at Kasper Park. Those two teams played Tuesday. I was at that game. North picked up a 2-0 win. So those are two of the top three teams in the conference, along with Hudson. So that was a big win for the Huskies, and they'll rematch again tonight. Hudson picked up the win over River Falls yesterday. So, there's a little. Starting to be a little separation in the conference, but not a ton. I mean, there's still a lot to be decided there. Western Clover Belt, kind of the same thing. I mean, for the most part, your baseball and your softball games are all wiped out yesterday. Because, around here, thanks to Mother Nature doing what she does. But in the Western Clover Belt, it's pretty wide open. You got Bloomer up by a half game now, but they've still got a couple games they have to finish. They've had some bad luck running into weather or darkness to finish up. They've got a couple suspended games. I think they're going to finish one up today with Osseo Fairchild before they play another one.
Mm-hmm.
They've got one that's kind of lingering like that with Cadott. That was also what was postponed yesterday. So they've got like 1+ games yet to play with Cadott. They're up a half game on Fall Creek. You got Osseo Fairchild in the mix there as well. Earlier this week, Stanley Boyd picking up a big win over Regis in Clover Belt baseball. So, I mean, it's a variable brouhaha up at the top of the conference right there in the Western Clover Belt right now. But within, I think, the next week, you'll really start to see some separation once these teams are hopefully playing, 2, 3, maybe even 4 conference games. I mean, in the spring, they always pile up quick once Mother Nature allows to, play those games.
Mm-hmm.
Big Rivers for softball, you've got New Richmond and Chippewa Falls at the top. They're set to play, I think, it's either next week or the week after. But, Shanghai currently a half game up. That's with one fewer game. They still have to make up a game with Eau Claire Memorial that was postponed yesterday. So they're there. Western Clover Belt, Fall Creek is the last remaining unbeaten team in the conference. Last Friday they beat McDonald in a couple. Tuesday they beat Thorpe in a couple. So the Crickets are right there with the Cardinals and the Max. Hanging out in second place right there. Dunn St. Croix for softball. You've got Colfax off to a really good start. I mean, they're unbeaten still in conference with Boyceville and Elk Mound and Mondovi kind of right there. But Colfax, I mentioned Fall Creek and McDonald. Those are, I think, in Division 4. Those are going to be 2 teams from around here to keep an eye on. But Colfax is going to be in that mix too. They're in that half of that section too. So, those 3 teams, once you get to the postseason, they're going to get pretty familiar with each other if they're not already. So, but I think next week is a big movement week for baseball and softball because softball, actually, the postseason is not that far away. It's a few weeks away, but that's going to be, by the time we talk next week, I think a lot of these conference title races, especially in softball, are a lot more crystallized.
Oh, okay. Kind of okay. That's
because
so,
but the softball postseason really gets a decent. You're through regionals by Memorial Day.
oh wow, man, I can't. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
May already. Holy moly!
So that's once you get to next week, you're kind of almost at like that 2-ish week warning,
right,
a little bit.
Yeah. How about track and field right now?
Track and field. That's actually where I'm going to be today. I'll be over in Stanley.
Ooh,
For
okay.
Stanley Boyd's Invitational, and there's going to be a lot of local teams there for that. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to some good weather for it.
Yeah.
It's been very hit or miss this spring. But, I mean, track is always tough because it's just like there's just so much that goes on. Like if you've ever gone to a track meet, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Or participated
in it because, you can sit in the stands, but, there's 4 other things going on at the same time.
Yep.
So, but I mean, the biggest things you need to know is next week is the last full week of the regular season.
Okay.
Before you get conference meets. And usually the conference meet week is pretty quiet because you have the conference meet and that's it. So coming up a week from this coming Monday, you've got the Big Rivers meet. That's New Richmond. The Western Clovermelt meets the day after. That's hosted by Cadott. So, and you have that full week where you kind of have that conference meet at the start of it, and then you're off for a week. And then that Monday before Memorial Day, you've got regionals. And that Thursday, you've got sectionals. So by the time you hit Memorial Day weekend, you'll know who's going to state for track.
Right.
And really by the end of this month, it's the Friday, that last day of the month is the 31st. It's Friday. That's the Friday state track.
Over at La Crosse, right? So it's either going to be really hot or
really
rainy.
It's going to be really something.
Yeah. You can probably mark a camera or set your watch.
I'll bring my umbrella, my sunscreen, a hoodie. I don't know. And you just have to kind of prepare for everything with that. I mean, and especially as we saw last year. But May, this is moving month. I mean, it's crazy to say, but by the time we get to the end of the month, there, like stuff's gonna be kind of starting to wind down a little bit.
Absolutely,
which is crazy, but it's true.
Since you said moving day, I know you're golf. Was it was the Bloomer one? Was that Monday?
That was last Friday.
Friday, okay.
Yeah, and actually we got some invites coming up next week too. I know Stanley Boyd hosts an invite and Cadott at Whispering Pines on Monday. Chippewa Falls hosts their annual invitational at Lake Wissota on Tuesday.
That's always usually a big one too, isn't it?
Yeah, there's usually a fair amount of teams there, but I mean, when you look at the Big Rivers of golf, I mean, obviously more often than not it starts with Memorial. You know, Will Schlitz and company. I mean, that's just a really good team. I mean, you look at the success they've had the last few years, and I think even when Justice and I were talking at one point, it's like, yeah, you look at kind of the success they had the last few years, but then coming into the years, like they still have a lot of names you probably remember. So I mean, they're gonna in the Big Rivers and beyond, they're a threat as always.
Yes.
And you mentioned Bloomer before. They've they won their home invite last week. They along with Chippewa Falls and many other teams are actually up in Hayward. This weekend's the big 2-day Hayward invite.
Okay.
Where they have a couple different courses they golf at there, and then over the course of 2 days, it's a big deal. It's a good tournament for a lot of.
That'd be a lot of fun to do 2 days up.
It would because there's some darn good courses up there. I think tomorrow they're at Big Fish.
Oh, nice.
So I think today it's just I think at Hayward Golf Club today, but that would be fun. It's kind of and it's almost like a mini vacation when you think about it because I mean you're not coming back.
Right.
You're staying up there, so that's kind of fun.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I know soccer last night too. North Edge Memorial.
They did. That's a big win for the Huskies. I mean, obviously Eau Claire Memorial over the years, boys and girls soccer has always been so strong. And anytime you've got Eau Claire North and Eau Claire Memorial playing against each other, I mean, earlier this week they were playing tennis.
Right.
It's a big deal when those two teams are getting together in anything. And yeah, you mentioned to be able to get that is, that's a big deal for the Huskies. Menominee picked up a win over Chippewa Falls last year. Regis McDonald girls soccer are still unbeaten. They tied Menominee earlier in the year, but they've, besides that, they've won all their other games. So, they're going to be a team in Division 4 come postseason that, you're going to have to really keep an eye on. They score a ton of goals. That combination of Annabelle Schroeder and Colleen Callahan is, I mean, you look at any game they win, and usually they're in the middle of a lot of it. So, that's a team that's been doing a lot of good things, right now for Coach Scott Hoffman.
Absolutely. I should mention too with North, they're going to be looking for a new men's basketball coach. Was it yesterday when it was announced that Coach Kessler
stepping
down? So North will be looking for a new.
And they've had some good years under him, and especially I thought past year especially, like they really came on strong second half of the year. They picked up some big wins, like and still had some younger guys on that team too. So that's whoever ends up with that job is I think be walking into a pretty good spot.
Yeah. Tennis to kind of wrap it up too.
Tennis. I mean, we're getting to the. I know in the big rivers, Menominey's kind of been really the class of the conference this year. Going back a few weeks, they picked up a win over Eau Claire Memorial, which had been, many, many years since any team in the conference beat Eau Claire Memorial. But we're not too far away from subsectionals and sectionals, and that'll be on the horizon. You've got the Big Rivers meet coming up in a week or two. So I mean, tennis is kind of one of the first sports that kind of hits the postseason.
Okay. All right, so that's all coming up here, man. Speaking of kind of wrapping up the regular seasons and getting ready for some postseason, that's also at the college level here too. You got Blue Gold baseball is going to be ending their regular season. Got some tough games going up against lacrosse, ranked number 16 right now. But so they're going to be wrapping that up. Softball, they're going to be wrapping up. They're getting ready for WIAC conference tournaments. You got the outdoor track and field WIAC conference tournaments going on this weekend too. Lacrosse, women's lacrosse, Blue Gold lacrosse taking on Colorado College this weekend. Softball going to be going up against Oshkosh, number 20 ranked Oshkosh over there too. On the stout side of things, again, it's track and field, the WIAC championships, and their softball team's going up against Stevens Point. Baseball for stout, they're going to be at Bethel University this weekend. So all right, the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight, Brandon. I know we always got a lot.
We always have a lot of options,
so.
but you mentioned a little earlier. Let's go to Eau Claire North girls soccer.
Okay,
picking up the big win over Eau Claire Memorial. I mean, I think, as I said, there's a lot of them you can go with, especially this time of year. But I think that's a big win for the program.
Absolutely. All right, that's your local sports roundup. Brought to you by Allison's Appliance Center. Let's take a quick break. And let's switch it up a little bit. We'll chat a little football after these quick words. So we know the draft is in the books, but this is the first time I've gotten to chat with my draft counterpart, Mr. Brandon Berg, surrounding the draft. By the way, Surveyor Sam, his cream of the crop, we will get to a cream of the crop. We will.
We will.
He's going with...
Dan is going to allow it.
Yes. He's going with the UW Eau Claire women's rugby team, D2 Sevens national champs back-to-back. So, yeah, shout out over there. That's a good one. So draft wrapped up last week, Brandon. Your Vikes, we talked about the first round and such last Friday, and that. But overall, how do you think your team did? Even though they spent a lot of picks, future picks.
They did.
And as of right now, I think they got a first round still for next year.
They do.
So you can at least watch that when we're
over that Friday. I might just go on a boat or something.
Yeah, and we'll see you on
Saturday morning.
Yep, exactly. So overall, though,
I mean, it's fine. It was obviously very top heavy with the 2 first-round picks. Day 3, I obviously it's important, but I try not to get too wrapped up in it because ultimately, I mean, more than half of those guys, may not be with the team in 2 years anyway.
Right.
Always noteworthy when the Vikings pick a kicker, which they did with taking Will Record from Alabama. So that's something to keep an eye on, I guess. But otherwise, I mean, I think Kerry Jackson has a chance to maybe work his way into that cornerback group, and then there's a couple 7th-round linemen, which, I mean, we'll see. I mean, but I think that, doing what they did in the first round was always going to kind of be the big part of the story for them. And getting a quarterback and getting an impact defensive player, that's kind of what I think what I was kind of hoping for. And to come out of it with a quarterback I've kind of figured they would end up with somehow, and a defensive player I didn't think there would be really much of a chance they would. I mean, overall, I would have to say, I'm pretty all right with that.
Yeah. Are you a little at least concerned though for you don't have a lot of picks coming up in the next couple of years, it seems like.
Or for next year. I think that they'll gain a few just because of they're set for some comp picks.
Yeah.
Who the heck knows about this whole Falcons tampering thing, which I'm not buying into nearly as much as a lot of people were.
So would the Vikings get that pick, or does Atlanta lose it?
I don't know, because sometimes there's been some issues. There's been some times where there's been some swaps or whatever.
Right.
But I don't know. But I think, and depending on obviously where that pick is, I think that they could be a prime contender to trade down next year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're that team that's looking to trade back a time or two in the first round. I mean, depending on where they are, if they're like top 5, they probably won't. But then again, maybe they will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just kind of a catch-22 of kind of balancing. Okay, well, we want to have next year, but at the same time, we have a chance to get somebody. I mean, this is more so for the Dallas Turner trade.
Right.
We have somebody we feel like can really make a big time difference, and I do like the way they've kind of had to remake that edge rusher room on the fly with both Daniil Hunter and DJ Wanham now gone. To be able to now have, I think, you need at least 3.
Yeah.
And, right now they have 3 I think they feel good about, with some younger guys that have, done some developing. So we will see. I mean, I'm not going to stand here and say that group is necessarily, better than someone like Daniil Hunter, but I think I could make the case that they fit the defense better. I mean, Daniil Hunter is a 4-3 defensive end.
Right.
And, he did what he could, and he played well last year being being more of that kind of, 3-4 kind of guy. But, these are now I think in year 2 for Brian Flores, you're starting to see more players that they're able to target and get that are suitable for what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're one with me too. I don't grade drafts after. I mean, I get it for content wise and that, but it's
everyone wants to know, but
right.
At the end of the matter, it's kind of empty calories. I mean, you can look back and see drafts that were graded great at right after that ended up sucking, and ones that heck, Russell Wilson got like a D or an F for his when the Seahawks drafted him, and obviously that worked out well. Like
right,
it's you don't know.
Exactly. So, I don't know if it'd be your cream of the crop, but I mean, it could be a good one, for shout out to Detroit fans for showing up, setting records.
Yeah.
I think I'm fairly confident saying I don't think Green Bay is going to beat that. I guess never say never. Not calling out Green Bay fans by any means.
Oh, it sounds like you are.
Where
are all the owners?
Yeah, if every single owner showed up, maybe we could, alive or gone.
Or all 100,000 people that were at the Ice Bowl.
That's a good point too. You're right. Yep. But boy, I gotta because I felt like it wasn't getting a lot of pub leading up to it,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden 775,000 total.
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
that's total, but still that's
That's a lot of
a
people. Like,
record
that's
breaker.
massive.
So shout out to Detroit for setting that bar pretty darn high. And yeah, I don't know how it's going to turn out in Green Bay. I think everybody's kind of just like waiting to see. I mean, you and I will be there for the thing. So I mean, it might be organized chaos at that point, but we'll see how it rolls. Like
They might be doing draft picks for Mandruzzi's. Who knows?
yeah, right. I just I know you probably didn't see because I think you were on the bus trip, but because I just got back from Little League and it was still on TV and they were doing puppies on the segment. And
I
I'm
saw the
like,
mess. I saw your tweet and stuff, but yeah,
I'm like, where's Mayock? We need Mayock for the
he's
puppies.
just sitting like in his big easy chair, just like grinding his hands on the armrest. Like,
Oh, but no, I'm really curious to see how it works out for Green Bay.
I'm excited that we'll be there to see how it does.
Just to behave, everybody.
Right.
Behave if you're going. So, all right, let's go back to some Bucks and some Brewers chat here. Brandon, again with the Bucks. Their season ended last night with a loss to the Pacers. Dame did come back and such. When you look at it, I think the expectation is still there. It's still championship, right? I mean, it's not like we know this is going to be a season of changes. I think we're all assuming the offseason is going to be an offseason of changes. But it's not necessarily one of those like, okay, they're rebuilding. Like, how would you classify this? Is it a retool again? Is
I'd
it
say
kind
retool,
of
a
a
reload,
refresh?
a reload, a
Yeah.
refresh. I mean, how other many words with re can we think of? But
Right. Because it's not it's almost like a rebuild, but not a rebuild. It's kind of weird because like I think you could say 2 or 3 guys. Oh yeah, definitely for sure. Middleton's kind of that third.
yeah, he you don't know there. Like,
I guess
Right.
maybe Thanasis is for sure because it's Giannis'
you got.
brother.
Oh,
so,
come on, you got to bring Thanasty back.
Yeah. It's funny now when my 6-year-old knows about Thanasis. Just he's like last night he's like, oh yep, Thanasis is going nuts on the bench again, Dad. So at least he's got that going for him. So
Which is nice.
yeah, right. But
Um,
I know I feel like we say that a lot with our favorite teams when we head into the off season and such. But this is just a unique one. And it's coming off of a very weird year for this Bucks team.
But you can make that case with all think about the Brewers last off season. It was kind of that way. Obviously, it's way different, but still, like as far as like you knew there would be change. For the Packers, that was 2022 into 2023.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Rodgers being traded, and I think some of these teams have shown you can kind of retool on the fly, even though the Bucks are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's just a lot of possibilities.
Right. And I don't know the money situation because it is really kind of confusing. So let me bring up the Bucks here from over like just to kind of get a gauge of what their cap space is at this point. Let me see if I can I'll bring it up here. Okay, if you want to take forever to load here for Spot Track here. Again, we've seen in the NBA, we've seen John Horst for crying out loud find creative ways to try to, get players. And I mean, sometimes it sacrifices a lot of draft picks to do so. But okay, so for 2024, for next year, 24, 25, total salary cap allocations, they're 10th, it looks like. Cap space, again, this is luxury tax. Cap space, negative 68 million.
Yeah, so they're already with luxury tax.
Yeah. So their top cap hits, which is probably no big surprise, your top 5, Dame and Giannis have the same exact cap hit. Then it's Chris Middleton. So Dame and Giannis are at, let's do percentage of league cap hit. Dame and Giannis are at 34.6. Middleton is 22.46. Then you got Brooke Lopez, 16.31. Then number 5 is Bobby Portis at 8.92. Then you got Pat, 6.68. Then it drops. I mean, you're talking, then Marjan Beauchamp pops
say
up.
now you're getting
you
into
know?
kind of the minimum contracts.
Exactly. So, and then you got some, cap holds and such with some of these other potential free agents.
Is
and
Larry
that.
Sanders still taking up money?
I don't see his name on
Okay,
here.
I mean, if it was, it would be negligible, but that was just one of those things.
Right.
I was wondering
I
about.
don't see his name on here. So, okay, no, I don't see it. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't like deferred or something like. But yeah, I don't see it on here. So, do I see this right, Brandon?
I don't know. I can't see.
Good. Yeah, stop. Do they have 2 first-round picks?
I don't think so. The Larry Sanders cap hits ended in 2021.
Okay.
So,
because on here they've got for this is from Spot Track, 2024, 2025 cap hold, round 1 pick 22, round 1 pick 24.
I thought that one of those was still like a swap with somebody.
Oh, is it maybe one of those depending on how that finishes off?
Yeah, I think I think it was like there might have been like they had the right, like someone had the right to swap.
Because on here, now this is from NBA.com. Milwaukee has a 21 pick, but it goes to New Orleans.
Yeah.
There we go. And then 23, New Orleans to Milwaukee.
Yeah, so there was a pick swap there.
There's a pick swap. So, all right, that's how that one works there. So, but you don't. Let me bring up Brooke Lopez here a little bit, see what this contract, because his free agent year is 2025. It says.
Yeah, so he's got 1 year left.
I'm trying to see if I can, like on Spot Track. I know, like in football, you can like.
Well, according to earlier today, Spot Track had tweeted out kind of where the Bucs situation where.
Okay.
Brooke has 1 year, $23 million left for next year. Pat Connaughton, 2 years, 18.8. Bobby Portis, 226. Giannis still 4 years, 224. Lillard 3 years, 161.5, and Middleton is also 2 years at 65.6.
Okay.
Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Jay Crowder, and Danilo Gallinari are all free agents.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see if I can like just trade Brooke Lopez somewhere.
Okay. And the Bucs have they mentioned the first rounder from New Orleans, but they also have Portland second rounder.
Okay, which actually not a bad one, right? That's not a bad one. So, I just picked a random team. I'm gonna go with Utah, just to see what it would, what that cap hit for. Okay, you're under. Yeah, see, you're under the allowable incoming by blah 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 blah. Holy moly! Yeah, this team will need space to. Okay, this is too hard to do on the fly here right now.
It's harder to play general manager in the NBA.
Yeah, because I got a big red thing flashing here. It says this trade currently fails. Thank you for saying that I failed. Wow. All right. There will be moves to be made. We know this. There will be moves. I just have no idea what John Horst's going to do.
Right.
And I'm really glad I'm not in his position right now.
It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot.
Like at one hand, you're like, okay, I know, I got to build a team. I've got 2 guys I can build around, right? Giannis and Dame for sure. But my hands are tied because a lot of the moves I made from the last few years, financially, not a lot of capital to trade. So it's like catch-22. I have to imagine he's going. You got to let Doc. I mean, if Doc's going to be your guy that you've invested in, do you try to you got to allow Doc to be a part of those conversations of who you want in that roster?
If that's your guy, like, yeah, you have to make moves that you feel like are going to suit, what Doc wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is really, I mean, next year is going to be the first time we're going to see the Doc, whatever the Doc plan is, like, implemented.
Right.
Because you really couldn't. I mean, they were able to pick stuff up as they went along, but you couldn't necessarily probably go full bore with it just because of injuries and him being new.
So, I know he said, with this talent or with the team they put together, it's championship or bust. But in the same breath, do we almost give them a pass? because of all the stuff that happened this year.
Maybe.
Because you trade for Dame, what, a week before training camp starts or days before training camp starts. Your top assistant, your offensive coordinator, let's call him, Terry Stotts, quits a week and change or less than the season starts. So then you have a rookie first-time head coach.
Without that veteran guy right next to
Right.
that veteran right-hand man.
Yeah. He gets fired. Then you bring Doc Rivers in, who's different. He's trying to bring in his stuff. I mean, it was just like, is it almost did the front office fail the Bucks
I think you could say that a little bit.
because of like all the moves that they made?
And I mean, there were with the injuries and stuff too. I mean, it's just not all on them. Obviously, some of that that injury stuff, that's just stuff that happens. Like that's just not something where you necessarily blame somebody. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, it's not a coincidence that the last few years the Nuggets have been incredibly successful and Jokic has not been injured.
Right.
Like that's kind of the thing you really can't control.
Yeah. I can't. When you look back at this, and I don't know how many years from now, if we ever look back at this season and just really look at like all that crap happened.
It's almost like somebody out there like sold their soul for 2021. And you think about it. You think of where we were in 2021 as far as like, okay, the Bucks win. Like you were thinking like, okay, hey, this is the start of like a run. Like they're the next 1A team. And the year after they made the second round? I think it was second round they lost to the Celtics, wasn't it?
Yeah, was that when Middleton was banged up too?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
they went to 7 without
so
Middleton.
someone's injured there.
Yep.
And then you have last year where there's injuries and you get upended by the Heat. Yeah.
Close.
Suns provide heat.
Yes.
And then you have this year where again there's just everything you mentioned, and then they get upended by the Pacers. Like it's like the monkey paw thing where it's like you make a wish for something, but then there's a whole like you weren't specific enough to where there's other parts of it that can kind of go awry.
Right.
It's like it would be like saying I wish the Vikings would win the Super Bowl, and you make that wish, but then it ends up being like the Vikings move to like Sacramento or something and they win it there. It's like, well, the franchise won the Super Bowl kind of a thing.
Right.
You didn't specify.
Right. So you bring up a point that I kind of threw in the first hour that I don't know if I want to get into at this point, but Wildy and Tausch threw this question a couple days ago. And this was at Game 5, and like if they were to lose, in the offseason and such. If the Bucks only win, and we got time yet, we got a couple years yet, but the how you phrase that, with that season, the Bucks win just one championship with Giannis. Are you appreciative of that, or is it should have been more? What they did too, they related to the quarterback play of Green Bay. One championship with Favre, one championship with Rodgers.
I think I would be appreciative. But if somehow near the end of Giannis's career, it was similar to the Packers where suddenly they drafted another guy and he was a top guy and they won another one then, like if they went like 25 years and they won the two, I could understand the frustration.
Yeah.
A little bit. But for me, because of knowing that how far, we're not that far removed from the Bucks being irrelevant.
Right.
Just being like the most irrelevant pro sports team in the state. I have to appreciate that. Like
I feel like the Bucks are more similar to the Brewers.
Yes.
Whereas like I think a lot of us would be like, we just want the one.
Right
now.
Right.
Obviously we'd love more, but we just want the one. And that's kind of was with the Bucks.
Yep.
Like we weren't around, you and I weren't around when they won it with Kareem.
No.
No. We weren't there. And yeah, you're right. I wasn't a Bucks fan at that time, but I mean the best one was probably with George Karl, Glenn Robinson,
It was
Ray Allen.
2001. Yeah, it was the Eastern Conference Finals loss to the Sixers, which I did get a good crack out of earlier in the postseason when whatever happened at one of the Knicks Sixers games, and they said, well, they were going to like go to the league or protest about it, and I just thought of Scott Williams popping in my head, getting suspended for the last game of that series. So
so that's where I feel like the Bucks are more like the Brewers, where you'd like them. I mean, they should have won more and such, but
it's tough to not. It's tough to not just be appreciative, like you said.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, we got to make some picks and predicts. By the way, should mention it too. I did in the first, but today is the day Doesn't mean it's going to happen today, but today is the day that it officially could if they wanted to. Jordan Love could sign his extension.
There we go.
Because NFL player can't sign another one until 12 months after. So 12 months ago today, or yesterday, whatever.
Love watch.
Yeah. Love watch is now on. It is on that he is going to sign a massive extension.
Yeah,
we all
it's just
know
a matter
that.
of when and for what.
Yep. Doesn't mean it's going to be today. Kind of funny if it was today. But we all know it's going to. So expect, I would probably say, 4 or 5 years. You're talking over $200 million for Jordan Love. So get ready for that to come at any point. But hey, we got to take a quick break. Picks and predicts and cream of the crop. I keep saying it so I don't forget because I almost forgot again. We'll lead off with cream of the crop. How about that? We'll be back in just a couple minutes. John says his cream of the crop is Jalen Brunson, 4 straight games, 37 points, like Anthony Edwards, kind of his coming up party in the playoffs thus far. So, yeah,
That's
Jalen
good.
Johnson, definitely.
That's it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
Jalen Brunson for them getting to the second round. We talk about this all the time, but like Knicks Pacers, that's kind of our wheelhouse throwback, isn't it?
Said that
Feels like it needs Marv Albert on the call.
We need Spike Lee and Reggie Miller doing the choke sign and all that. Yeah.
We need like Dale Davis trying to fight somebody.
Yes.
Him and Charles Oakley throwing down.
Yes.
As much as obviously we don't like to see it, that does have a very 90s feel to it.
Getting potentially excited about the NBA going to the NBC too.
I heard the conversation you and Luke were having on Wednesday. Like,
just saw Ernie Johnson apparently said he's staying at TNT regardless if the NBA, which I'm sure they'll find some roles for. He does baseball too over
right.
there,
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that he's going to be good with whatever he's doing.
Right. But that would be an end of an era going back to another era. I can't see Shaq and Chuck going over there to NBC. I don't know.
Because then for Charles, for what it's worth, then he's out of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Because if he's with NBC, I mean Turner and CBS kind of have that agreement.
It's still kind of weird for me though to see Kenny Smith and Chuck with the college basketball tournament because you don't see them during the season.
It's one of those things where they know basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I don't know how much they pay attention to college.
Right.
So it's more of like they're there and like them, but it's like you're not getting like the same like super deep analysis you're getting from other guys and gals, but that's not why they're there.
Right.
Like you're not they're not going to be in the weeds on it, but Charles Barkley's going to make a joke about Shaq.
Yes, exactly.
And that's okay.
All right, let's do cream of the crop before we get to our picks and predicts. Been a couple weeks since we actually
it's been far too long since we heard old Macho Man.
All right, I'll give you the honors. You go first.
I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay.
I mean, I picked them to lose. I picked them to lose that series, and they went out and they dog walked the Phoenix Suns. Like they just whooped them.
Mm-hmm.
And that series with Denver is going to be so much fun.
It is. You got Denver with Tim.
You got the reigning champs against this young, fun, ascending team.
Yep.
Like,
well, look at the regular season battle.
I mean, just all the credit to the T-Wolves. I mean, they coming off that regular season finale. Like, there was a lot of people that are kind of like, oh, I didn't believe it. And you know what? I was wrong, and I will happily say I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling for the T-Wolves from here on out.
Yeah.
I want them to go as far as they can go.
Absolutely. My cream of the crop, I am going to Brandon's mom and Rocky. So because you guys did a bus trip,
for their annual bus trip.
Annual bus trip last Saturday to the Brewer game, but they also did they collected some money donation to Backyard Dreams.
So fundraising for Backyard Dreams.
So $400 went to Backyard Dreams. So our cream of the crop is Brandon's mom and Rocky.
There you go.
For that. Also, shout out to Rocky for a sweet birthday gift to Brandon's mom here. She's got her own Brewers jersey that says Brandon's mom on there. That is awesome. I'm actually impressed. They fit all of that on the back.
It's close. It's close.
Any significance to the number chosen?
No.
Okay.
Everyone asked about that, but it was just he didn't have a choice for a number, so that was just a number they gave.
Okay, so that's awesome. It's on there. You can see it, but I posted it up on Facebook. So
it is
big
it's
thanks.
Something else.
Big thanks. I don't know if they're listening, but big thanks. Over there. That's awesome. Cream of the crop. All right, picks and predicts time brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Looking for somewhere maybe to catch some of the games, some of the action, some of the races. You got horses and automobiles
Big
this
weekend
too. So pull up over at the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire in EC. By the way, DP has a poll question. Has Patrick Beverly played his last game in the NBA? He's in some hot water right now.
Not a great night. Not a great look out of Patrick Beverly. I will say that. Just, I mean,
yeah.
You had for a couple different things that happened in the in the fallout from last night's loss, just there's no excuse for it. You got to be better than that. Like you can't. I'll try to clean this up because there's a word I would like to use, but I don't know if I can use on the radio. I don't know if it's a swear word, but you can't be chippy just because you lost.
Right.
Like,
yep.
There's still, it's one thing to be frustrated. It's one thing to be disappointed, but like, you don't be a jerk just because you lost a game.
Right. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, he was tossed twice. It looked
Yeah.
like the second one, and a fan behind the bench there.
And then
this is my thing though too. Is like, it still boggles my mind a little bit, and maybe it's just because I don't know how close fans are to the benches, whether you're sitting courtside or right behind. And even like some of those team benches, they look like they're just scrunched in there, or the guy's got to sit on the cooler. For all of this, like, it's 2024, and that still boggles my mind how close fans. Like, I'm sorry, but if I'm a coach coaching basketball and I'm like, and I got like fans, right, that would annoy me. I'm sorry, it would annoy me.
It would.
And especially that close into a huddle, that would annoy me.
Especially if it's that guy that everyone could hear on TNT last night.
Thank you. I wasn't the only one.
No, there were some other people that were making a hubbub over wherever the mic was. There was this one dude
because he was chanting like, "Portis, you're the guy that," and I couldn't hear all of it, but you could kind of get the sense. I'm like, I good commitment.
But yeah, just imagine. I mean, these type of guys are fans are at like every game. But imagine like there's just a mic right next to one of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes we hear that in a baseball game. Or it's the cowbell, or it's. But I was just, I'm sitting there. I'm like, because I think Brooke had to sit on the water cooler. Like it looked like he sat on the water cooler in that clip. I'm like, we're 2024 and we still don't have like enough room for all this, and it's just But anyways, back to picks and previews. Over there. Let's start off with the NBA. We got 2 games today. Cleveland, Orlando. Cleveland up 3-2. Who wins that one? It's at Orlando.
I'm gonna say Cleveland closes it out.
I'm gonna go Orlando. I think go 7. Let's go Clippers, Dallas at Dallas. Dallas up 3-2.
Dallas.
I'm gonna go Dallas.
It feels like they've got all the mo right now. We were talking a little bit earlier about kind of the big threes not working.
Yep. Saturday, Minnesota at Denver.
I'm gonna take Denver, and if you're a T-Wolves fan, you probably like hearing that, given what I just said about the T-Wolves. But yeah, I am really looking forward to the series.
I'm gonna go Denver too. I'm curious to see how Chris Finch coaches with that patellar tendon
wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, can he at least sit? I mean, I know Dr. Crow talked about crutches and all that. I mean, propped up on the bench, or I don't know. I just it'd be curious to see how that works out.
Yeah.
So if he does coach on the sidelines in game 1, so I know Sunday's kind of dependent on who wins today, so we'll skip over that one. Let's do some Stanley Cup playoff picks though. Tonight, Vancouver at Nashville. Vancouver leads 3-2.
I'm gonna say Vancouver closes it out as well.
I'll go Vancouver. Dallas at Vegas. Dallas leading 3-2.
Dallas, they got all the momentum. They are firing all cylinders right now.
I'm gonna go Dallas too. Toronto at Boston.
This
game
is a
7.
fun one. This is one where like the fallout's going to be fun because either obviously a lot of people take fun and like at the expense of the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's a bit like the Cowboys, where like they've had a lot of success. It just hasn't been recently.
Yep.
And they're this established blue blood team. But then on the other hand, you have Boston. It's always fun to watch a Boston team lose.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Toronto.
Ooh.
I'm going Toronto in this one.
I'm gonna go Boston.
Prime time tomorrow night too.
It is. Nothing like game 7 in sports. I don't care if it's baseball or basketball or Stanley Cup. I love game 7s. Want to do a Kentucky Derby?
Yes.
Do you know any? Okay.
Well, give me a second.
Okay.
To actually get all the horsey names.
Horsey names? Okay.
So why don't we go Brewers in the meantime?
Oh yeah, we should do Brewers, huh? How many wins against the Cubs? 3-game series, all day games, by the way.
Yeah.
So today, first pitch is going to be at 1:20, and tomorrow and Sunday.
I am going to go 2 out of 3.
Ooh.
I'm going to go 2 out of 3.
Now, are we going to operate under the assumption that Freddie will be able to pitch on Sunday?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go 1 out of 3. But I hope I'm really wrong.
There are some really good horse names this year.
Uh-huh. Oh, I mean, I'm looking at them right now. I thought I was going to pick one, but I might have to go with the one that's just completely obvious for me. So
I've seen that too, so I can't make the pick. So I will let you go first.
I got to go Mystic Dan.
Last time seeing by CBS 20-1.
Yep.
Currently,
Mystic Dan.
yeah, the odds-on favorite here would be Fierceness, which is 5-2.
Yep.
You were looking at the door. I thought someone was peeking in.
We do have a peek in. Ooh, we got some food.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh boy.
See?
Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo. Thank you. Oh yeah, hot sauce. Look at that.
I am going to go a little bit down. I am going to go with Just a Touch at 10-1 on a post 8. There's some good names though. Catching Freedom is a good one.
Yep.
West Saratoga, the horse connection there, obviously. I thought about Domestic Product at 30-1.
Well, Fierceness is the odds-on favorite.
Fierceness is the odds. Society Man, that's a good one.
Just Steel.
Epic Ride.
The one I thought about picking. So that was one of them was Epic Ride. I don't know why this really stood out to me. I like Track Phantom. That's an awesome name.
Track Phantom.
T.O. Password. I like what like that. That's like, wait a minute, what? T.O. Password. So, by the way, you want to feel old? T.O.'s kid got signed in the end. He was undrafted, but now he's in the end. I know, right? Oh, goodness gracious. So, yeah, I mean, I have to go Mystic Dan, don't I?
You have to.
And the way it's spelled Mystic too on there, it's yeah. Although Doorknock almost reminds me of Loch Ness Monster for some reason. So I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll ride Mystic Dan. Pun intended. Get it? Ride Mystic Dan.
Heyo.
Heyo. So, all right. We only got 20 seconds left here. Not even 20 seconds left. So, yeah. Get outside if you can today. Might be the only time you can do something.
Right.
I don't know what it's like on Sunday, but I got to hit the golf course yet. We were talking a little bit off the air. I have not golfed yet, and it's really grinding my gears on this Friday. So, all right, DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Let's do this again Monday morning, 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Talk to you then.